Hello there, and welcome to Midnight Wanderer. Have you ever stood by the edge of the sea at night and wondered what lies beneath that dark, placid surface? We think of our world as a place of continents and land, of sunlight and solid ground. But so much of it is water, and so much of that water is a deep, dark and profoundly quiet place that the sun has never touched. It is a realm that holds more life, more space, and more mystery than all the land on earth combined. Tonight, we are not here to solve these mysteries, but to simply float within them. We are going to begin a slow, gentle journey downwards, away from the familiar world of air and light, and into the vast, silent cathedral of the deep ocean. There is nothing for you to do, nothing to figure out. All that is asked is that you find a comfortable position and allow the weight of your body to sink into the surface beneath you. You have permission to let go of the day, to release any thoughts or worries that may still be clinging to you. Let them dissolve into the background, like salt in water. Before our journey begins, I'd love to know where you're resting from tonight and what hour the clock shows in your part of the world. You can share it in the comments below if you feel called to, and if you find a sense of peace in these quiet explorations, a gentle like or subscription helps other curious minds find their way to this calm harbour. Now, let us begin. Our journey begins not in the dark, but in the light. We start here, at the surface, in a place that feels familiar, a world painted in the warm and gentle colours of the sun, so that we may appreciate the profound changes that await us as we slowly, peacefully descend. Imagine for a moment that you are floating. You are not in your bed, but suspended in the warm sunlit waters of the open ocean. The world above is a vast dome of brilliant blue sky, perhaps dotted with a few soft, cotton-like clouds drifting lazily by. The sun is a gentle weight on your closed eyelids, a warmth that seeps into your skin, and you can feel its energy dancing on the surface of the water around you. The ocean here, in this topmost layer known as the epipelagic zone, is teeming with a life that we can almost understand. Schools of silvery fish flash and turn in perfect unison, their scales catching the light like 1,000 scattered diamonds. Perhaps you can hear the distant cheerful calls of seabirds, or the gentle, rhythmic percussion of small waves lapping against a shore that exists only in your memory. This is the ocean we know from pictures and dreams. It is a place of vibrant colour, of motion, and of life driven by the tireless engine of the sun. The light here penetrates the clear water, illuminating the sandy bottom in shallow places, revealing the intricate architecture of coral reefs or the gentle waving of seagrass meadows. Photosynthesis, that quiet, miraculous process of turning sunlight into life, is the foundation of everything here. It is the very same process that gives life to the forests and fields on land. And so this part of the ocean feels like a continuation of our own world, simply submerged in a tranquil blue. It is a vast liquid garden where microscopic plants called phytoplankton float like countless specks of green dust, breathing in sunlight and breathing out the very oxygen that fills our lungs. They are the base of a great and complex web of life, the silent providers for this bustling, sun-drenched city. But this layer of light, as vast and all-encompassing as it feels, is in reality a fragile and impossibly thin skin on a much deeper, much older world. If you were to imagine the entire depth of the ocean as a tall skyscraper, this sunlit zone would be nothing more than the thin layer of paint on its roof. It is a beautiful and vital frontier, but it is only the beginning of the story. It is the cover of a book whose pages number in the thousands, each one darker and more mysterious than the last. We begin here to set our compass, to fill our lungs with a feeling of light and warmth, because the journey we are about to take is a descent into a world defined by their absence. We are leaving the familiar shore of our understanding and allowing ourselves to drift into the profound, quiet blue of the unknown. And so, with a final, gentle look at the sun-dapped surface, we allow ourselves to begin our descent, not with a sudden plunge, but with a slow, effortless surrender to the water's embrace, leaving the world of light and colour behind, one breath at a time. And so, we begin to sink. Let go of the need to hold yourself up and simply allow the gentle pull of gravity to guide you downwards. The transition is almost imperceptible at first. The warmth of the sun on the surface lingers for a moment, a fading memory on your skin, but it is slowly replaced by a cool, soothing embrace. The water around you is no longer a place of energetic waves, but a calm, enveloping presence. Imagine yourself as a single, falling leaf, drifting slowly through the air of a still forest. Here, you're a drifter in a vast blue atmosphere, and your descent is slow, silent, and utterly peaceful. The world of sound begins to change as well. The sharp calls of the gulls and the rhythmic lapping of the waves dissolve, replaced by a deep and resonant quiet. The water, which is much denser than air, muffles and softens all sound, creating a feeling of profound insulation from the world above. It is as if you have been wrapped in a thick, velvety blanket of silence, where the only sound is the slow, steady rhythm of your own peaceful breathing. As you drift deeper, the light begins to transform. The brilliant white-gold light of the surface gives way to a spectrum of deepening blues. It is a gentle and gradual change. First, the reds and oranges, the colours of warmth and fire, are filtered out by the water column above. Then the bright yellows and vibrant greens begin to fade, absorbed by the deepening liquid twilight. All that remains is blue, 1,000 shades of blue, from a soft, ethereal cyan to a deep royal sapphire. This ever-deepening blue becomes your entire world, a colour that speaks of calm, of serenity, and of immense, open space. The sense of pressure, too, begins to make itself known, but not in a frightening or uncomfortable way. Instead, feel it as a gentle, uniform hug. It is the weight of the water above you, a constant and reassuring presence that holds you from all sides. On the surface, we feel the weight of the air, the atmosphere, as a constant, unnoticed pressure. Here, that feeling is magnified, but it feels less like a weight and more like a grounding, a steadying force in this weightless environment. It is the ocean's way of holding you, of reminding you that you are now part of its world. As we continue our slow, downward spiral, the creatures we encounter begin to change. The fast-moving, brightly coloured fish of the reef give way to beings more suited to the dimming light and the growing pressure. Perhaps we see the translucent bell of a jellyfish pulsing gently, its long tentacles trailing behind it like silken threads. It moves with a slow, hypnotic rhythm, a perfect embodiment of the peace of this new realm. We are leaving the busy, sunlit city and entering the quiet, sprawling suburbs of the deep. Here, life is less hurried, more deliberate. The journey downwards is not a fall, but a graceful, controlled drift, a meditation in motion. Each metre of descent takes us further from the familiar and deeper into a world of quiet wonder. We are letting go of the horizontal world of surfaces and directions and embracing the vertical world of depth. There is only up and down, and for now our path is only down, into the calm, into the blue, into the heart of the ocean's great mystery. Let us pause for a moment in our descent to consider this gentle, persistent pressure that surrounds us. On land, we live at the bottom of an ocean of air. The atmosphere, all those miles of air stacked above us, exerts a constant pressure on our bodies, about 14.7 pounds per square inch. We do not feel it because we are born into it. It is the baseline of our existence. It is like a perfectly tailored, invisible suit that we have worn every moment of our lives. but water is much, much denser than air. It is about 800 times denser, and so its weight, its pressure, increases much more rapidly as we descend. For every 10 metres, or about 33 feet that we travel downwards, the pressure increases by 1 full atmosphere. It is as if, for every 33 feet we sink, we are putting on another one of those invisible suits, another full layer of the Earth's atmosphere, perfectly fitted over the last. Here, in the upper reaches of our journey, the change is subtle. It feels like a firm, comforting embrace, a sense of being securely held. The water presses in on all sides equally, so it does not crush, it simply holds. This pressure is one of the fundamental laws of the deep ocean. It is the invisible architecture that shapes every living thing here. It dictates the form of their bodies, the chemistry of their cells, and the very way they experience the world. The creatures of the surface, with their air-filled spaces and light bones, could not survive this gentle but immense squeezing. Their bodies are designed for the lightness of the airy world, but the creatures we will soon meet are built differently. They have no air pockets to be crushed. Their bodies are often gelatinous, composed mostly of water, and so the pressure inside them is perfectly balanced with the pressure outside. They are one with the water, and so its weight is not a burden to them, but simply the medium in which they live. It is like a deep-sea fish trying to imagine the crushing lack of pressure at the surface. For them, our world would be an impossibly light and fragile place. As we continue to drift downwards, we can allow this feeling of pressure to be a reminder of the vastness of the world above us. Imagine the sheer volume of water, the miles of ocean suspended over our heads. Yet, in this immense weight, there is no violence, no struggle. There is only a deep, abiding stillness. It is a pressure that creates silence. It is a pressure that fosters a different kind of life, a slower, more deliberate form of existence. And as we surrender to this feeling, this gentle, constant embrace, we are becoming more and more a part of this world, a quiet observer held safely in the heart of the ocean's great silent weight. As we continue our slow, peaceful descent, we notice the world around us changing in another profound way. The brilliant sapphire blue that surrounded us just a short while ago is deepening, shifting into a dark, velvety indigo. The reason for this is as simple as it is beautiful. The water column above us acts as a great gentle filter for the sunlight that streams down from the surface. Sunlight, which we perceive as white, is actually a beautiful spectrum of colours, the very same colours we see in a rainbow. As this light penetrates the ocean, the water molecules begin to absorb its energy, but they do not absorb all the colours equally. The colours with the longest wavelengths, the warm and fiery colours, are the first to be absorbed. The reds are the very first to disappear, absorbed within the first few dozen feet. To be red in this world is to be black, to be invisible. Then go the oranges and the yellows, their warm, cheerful energy gently soaked up by the water. The vibrant greens, the colour of life on land, hold on a little longer, but they too eventually fade, leaving only the blues and the violets. These colours have the shortest wavelengths and the most energy, and so they are able to penetrate the deepest. This is why the open ocean appears blue to our eyes. It is the colour that the water does not absorb, the colour that it reflects back to us. But as we sink deeper and deeper, even the resilient blue begins to fade. The light itself is growing dimmer, weaker. The vast illuminating power of the sun is being slowly but surely consumed by the sheer volume of water above. The world is losing its colour and becoming a place of monochrome shades. It is a world of silhouettes, of faint shapes moving in a deep, perpetual twilight. This loss of colour is not a loss of beauty. Instead, it is a transformation. It is as if the ocean is gently simplifying the world for us, removing the distractions of colour so that we can focus on form, on movement, and on the quiet presence of the beings who call this dim world home. It is a visual representation of our own journey inward, away from the loud, colourful complexity of the everyday world and into a simpler, quieter state of being. The world becomes a beautiful charcoal drawing, where the only light is a faint, ethereal glow from a world that now seems very, very far away. We are entering a kingdom of shadows, a place where vision is no longer the primary sense, and other ways of knowing the world begin to take precedence. In this world of deepening twilight, we begin to encounter the first true residents of the deep. These are not visitors from the sunlit world above, but beings perfectly adapted to a life lived in the dim, transitional spaces. They are the masters of the gloaming, the creatures who thrive in a world where the sun is a distant, fading memory. We might see the faint, silvery flash of a hatchet fish, its body impossibly thin and reflective. Its strange, hatchet-like shape is a form of camouflage, designed to have the smallest possible silhouette when viewed from below. Its large, tubular eyes are pointed permanently upwards, designed to catch the faintest glimmer of light, the faintest shadow of a creature moving in the water far above. The hatchet fish is a living testament to the overwhelming importance of that last faint light from the surface. Its entire existence is oriented towards that dwindling connection to the sun. Here too we might encounter the lanternfish, one of the most abundant animals on the entire planet. By day, they live in the deep, dark water, but at night, they undertake a tremendous journey, migrating hundreds or even thousands of feet up to the surface to feed in the plankton-rich waters, only to return to the safety of the depths before the sun rises again. They carry the rhythm of the sun within them, even here in a world where day and night have no meaning. These first deep dwellers introduce us to the central theme of life in the ocean's depths: adaptation. Life is tenacious, and it finds a way to flourish in even the most challenging of environments. Here, the challenge is the lack of light and the growing pressure, and the solutions are beautiful and strange. We see bodies that are designed not for speed, but for efficiency. We see eyes that are designed not for clarity, but for sensitivity. And we begin to see the first hints of a new kind of light, a light that is not born from the sun, but from life itself. Many of the creatures here have small, light-producing organs on their bodies, a phenomenon known as bioluminescence. For now, they use these lights sparingly, perhaps to signal to a mate or to confuse a predator. It is a quiet, secret language of light, a first whisper of the symphony of light we will encounter as we journey deeper. These creatures are the bridge between two worlds. They live in the balance between the last rays of the sun and the beginning of the endless night. They are a gentle introduction to the strange and wonderful forms that life must take in order to survive in the heart of the ocean's great, quiet darkness. Their presence is a reassuring sign that even as we leave the light behind, we are not entering an empty void, but a new and richly inhabited kingdom. As our eyes adjust to the profound and ever-present dimness, our other senses begin to awaken. Let us turn our attention to the sound of this world, or rather, to its silence. Near the surface, the ocean is a noisy place. There is the constant crash and hiss of waves, the patter of rain, the cries of birds, and the sounds of countless creatures going about their lives. But as we descend, that noise is filtered out even more effectively than the light. The chaotic energy of the surface world cannot penetrate these depths. What remains is a silence so profound that it feels like a physical presence. It is a silence that has weight, a silence that is as much a part of this environment as the water and the pressure. But this silence is not truly empty. Sound travels differently here. It travels much farther and much faster in water than it does in air. A sound that would fade quickly on land can travel for hundreds of miles in the deep ocean. And so, this world is not silent in the sense of being devoid of sound. It is silent in the sense of being free from noise. The sounds that do exist here are meaningful and they are rare. They are the low, resonant calls of great whales, songs that can cross entire ocean basins, carrying messages of location, of food, of kinship. These sounds are not an interruption of the silence, but a part of it. They are like a single, deep note played on a cello in a vast empty cathedral. They resonate through the water, a slow and mournful and beautiful expression of life in this immense space. There are other sounds too, but they are subtle. The soft, rhythmic pulsing of a jellyfish's bell, the quiet click of a shrimp's claw, the barely audible swish of a passing fish's tail. In this profound quiet, these tiny sounds become significant events. They are whispers in a great library, signals that betray the presence of a neighbour, a predator, or a potential meal. This shift from a world of sight to a world of sound is a fundamental transition in our journey. We are entering a realm where listening is more important than looking, where a creature's awareness is defined not by a field of vision, but by a sphere of hearing. And for us, as we drift deeper into this calm, we can allow the silence to wash over us, to seep into us. We can let it quiet the noise of our own thoughts, creating a space of inner peace that mirrors the profound, tranquil silence of the world around us. We have now passed through the ocean's gentle entryway and are drifting into a new and deeper realm. This is a world of perpetual dusk, a soft and shadowy space suspended between the light of the world above and the absolute darkness of the world below. Here, in the twilight zone, life plays out in the faint silvery blue light that is the sun's last fading touch. We are now crossing an invisible boundary, descending into the ocean layer known as the mesopelagic zone. Scientists call it by this name, but it is more poetically, and perhaps more accurately, known as the twilight zone. It begins at a depth of around 200 metres, or 660 feet, the point at which not enough sunlight penetrates for photosynthesis to occur. It is the end of the ocean's garden, the point where life can no longer be sustained by the direct energy of the sun. From here down to about 1,000 metres, or 3,300 feet, is a world bathed in a permanent, deep twilight. Imagine standing in a dense forest long after the sun has set, when the sky is not yet black, but holds a deep, luminous grey. That is the feeling of this place. There is just enough light filtering down from the world above to create silhouettes, to distinguish between a solid shape and the empty water around it. But there is not enough light to see colour, not enough light to see detail. It is a world of shadows, a place of immense and gentle ambiguity. The pressure here has continued to increase steadily and quietly. We are now experiencing dozens of atmospheres, a weight that would be instantly crushing for any land animal or surface-dwelling fish. But for the residents of the Twilight Zone, this is home. Their bodies, often soft and watery, are in perfect equilibrium with this pressure. They feel it no more than we feel the weight of the air. The temperature has also dropped significantly. We have left the warm, sun-kissed surface waters far behind. Here, the water is cold, and it is stable. It is a cold that does not change with the seasons, a constant deep chill that has a profound effect on the pace of life. In this cold, metabolic processes slow down. Life moves at a more deliberate, more patient rhythm. This is a world without landmarks. There are no mountains, no valleys, no trees, no shores. There is only the endless, uniform expanse of dimly lit water. It is a vast, open space that can feel both liberating and overwhelming. For the creatures who live here, direction is reduced to its simplest form. There is up, the direction of the faint life-giving light and the promise of food, and there is down, the direction of greater darkness, greater pressure, and for some, greater safety. Life in the Twilight Zone is a vertical dance, a constant negotiation between the world above and the world below. It is a realm of vertical commuters, of creatures who treat the water column like a vast multi-story building, travelling between floors in search of food and refuge. This place is not empty. In fact, it is teeming with life. The sheer biomass, the total weight of living creatures in the mesopelagic is thought to be greater than in all the rest of the ocean combined. It is a hidden kingdom, immensely vast and populated by legions of small, hardy creatures who have mastered the art of survival in the dim, cold, and highly pressurized world of the ocean's twilight. Every evening, as the last of the sun's light fades from the surface of the ocean, the greatest migration on our planet begins. It is not a migration of birds across continents or of wildebeest across the plains. It is a silent vertical journey, a massive, coordinated movement of life from the deep ocean towards the surface, and it is known as the Deal vertical migration. This migration is like a deep, slow breath taken by the ocean itself. As darkness provides a cloak of safety from visual predators at the surface, a colossal wave of living creatures begins to ascend from the twilight zone. Trillions of lanternfish, copepods, krill, and squid rise through the water column, travelling hundreds or even thousands of feet upwards. They are journeying to the rich moonlit pastures of the surface waters, to feast on the microscopic phytoplankton that grew in the sunlight of the day. For these creatures, the surface is a dangerous place filled with hungry hunters. They can only risk travelling there under the cover of night, and so they spend their days in the relative safety of the deep, dark and dim waters of the mesopelagic, and their nights feeding in the productive world above. Then, as the first hint of dawn approaches, the great migration reverses. Before the sun's rays can penetrate the water and expose them to the daytime predators, the entire community begins its long, silent descent back into the darkness. They return to the cold, pressurized sanctuary of the twilight, their bodies filled with the energy they have gathered from the sunlit world. This daily, rhythmic movement is the heartbeat of the ocean's food web. It is a vital delivery service, actively transporting vast quantities of food and nutrients from the productive surface into the deep ocean. The creatures of this migration are like a massive living conveyor belt, connecting the world of light with the world of darkness. Without this constant vertical flow, the deeper parts of the ocean would be far more barren. This immense daily journey is a testament to the powerful influence of the sun, even here, hundreds of meters below the surface. The entire structure of life in this zone is dictated by the need to access the sun's energy, which is stored in the phytoplankton, while simultaneously avoiding the sun's revealing light. It is a beautiful, paradoxical dance of life, a silent daily pilgrimage between a world of food and a world of safety, all happening far beneath the waves, hidden from our eyes. In a world where light is the most precious and scarce of resources, the ability to see, to capture the last few photons of sunlight filtering down from above is a matter of life and death. And so, the creatures of the Twilight Zone have evolved some of the most remarkable and specialized eyes in the entire animal kingdom. For many of these animals, their eyes are enormous in proportion to their bodies. The deep-sea squid, for example, can have eyes the size of dinner plates, the largest eyes of any known animal. These massive spherical organs are like giant satellite dishes, designed not to see sharp details, but to collect as much light as physically possible. They are incredibly sensitive, capable of detecting the faintest of glimmers in the deep, perpetual dusk. Another common adaptation is the tubular eye. Fish like the barrel-eye and the hatchetfish have eyes that are shaped like short, upward-pointing barrels, each with a large lens at the top. This design is very good at collecting the faint directional light that comes from the surface. It allows them to spot the subtle shadows and silhouettes of prey or predators moving in the water column above them. It is a form of tunnel vision, sacrificing peripheral awareness for an incredibly sensitive view of the world overhead, the direction from which both food and danger are most likely to come. Some creatures have even developed four-eyed vision. They have one pair of eyes that looks upward, and another, smaller pair that looks downward and to the sides. This allows them to keep watch on the world above while also being aware of what is happening in their immediate surroundings. These strange and beautiful eyes are a moving illustration of how life is shaped by its environment. They are biological sculptures, carved and refined over millions of years by the gentle but relentless pressure of survival in a world of shadows. They are windows that are oriented with a desperate and beautiful focus on the last fading memory of a sun they will never feel. Their gaze is a constant upward-looking prayer for light. In the dim, open water world of the Twilight Zone, there is nowhere to hide. There are no caves to retreat into, no plants to shelter behind. The only cover is the darkness itself. And so, for the creatures who live here, survival often depends on the art of not being seen. They have become masters of invisibility, employing a stunning array of camouflage techniques to melt into the watery background. One of the most common strategies is to be transparent. Many of the gelatinous creatures of this zone, like jellyfish and comb jellies, are almost entirely see-through. Their bodies are made of a substance that has nearly the same refractive index as seawater, meaning that light passes through them almost as if they weren't there at all. They are living ghosts, quiet, nearly invisible drifters in the deep. Another popular technique is to be a mirror. Creatures like the hatchetfish and many species of deep-sea shrimp have bodies that are covered in tiny plate-like scales or skin that is incredibly silvery and reflective. These mirrored flanks do not reflect a clear image like a glass mirror would. Instead, they reflect the dim, ambient blue light of the environment. From any given angle, the fish's body is reflecting the same colour and brightness as the water around it, effectively making it disappear. But perhaps the most ingenious and magical form of camouflage practiced here is a technique called counter-illumination. Many fish, squid and shrimp in the Twilight Zone have light-producing organs, called photophores, arranged on their bellies. As they swim, their eyes, which are incredibly sensitive to light levels, gauge the exact brightness of the water above them. They then use their photophores to produce a gentle blue glow on their undersides that perfectly matches the light filtering down from the surface. For any predator looking up from below, the creature's silhouette is perfectly erased. It is not casting a shadow. It is a shadow that has been filled in with its own light. It is the ultimate form of active camouflage, a living invisibility cloak woven from the animal's own self-made light. This beautiful strategy perfectly illustrates the delicate balance of life here, using the faintest light to hide in a world of shadows. As we've seen, light in the Twilight Zone is a double-edged sword. The faint sunlight from above is a beacon for predators, something to hide from, something to erase your shadow against. But light can also be a tool, a language, and a weapon. And as we drift deeper, leaving the last vestiges of sunlight behind us, we will find that the darkness is not empty. It is filled with a new kind of light, a light that is born not from a distant star but from the creatures themselves. This phenomenon, bioluminescence, is the quiet, secret language of the deep ocean. We saw its first whispers in the counter-illumination of the Twilight Zone dwellers, where it was used as a tool of concealment. This was a shy, humble use of living light, a way to blend in and disappear. But this is only the very beginning of the story of light in the deep. As we descend further into a world of absolute and perpetual night, we will see this first gentle glimmer blossom into a vibrant and complex symphony of signals. Bioluminescence will no longer be used just for hiding. It will be used to attract prey, to startle predators, to find mates, and to communicate in the vast, silent darkness. It is a language spoken in flashes, in glows, in shimmering clouds, and in subtle, shifting patterns. It is the ocean's answer to the sun's absence. It is life deciding that if it cannot have light from above, it will simply create its own. This first, subtle glimmer of self-made light that we witness in the Twilight Zone is a profound turning point in our journey. It is a bridge from a world that is defined by the fading light of the sun to a world that is illuminated, however faintly, by the inner light of its own inhabitants. It is a promise that the darkness ahead is not an ending, but the beginning of a new and beautiful kind of world, one painted not by the sun but by life itself. We now leave the last memory of the sun behind. As we sink deeper, the world outside becomes one of complete and utter blackness. But it is not a world of emptiness, for here, in the endless night, the inhabitants have learned to speak in the most universal of languages, the language of light. What is this gentle, living light that we see beginning to flicker in the darkness around us? This phenomenon, bioluminescence, is one of the deep ocean's most enchanting and widespread secrets. At its heart, it is a simple and elegant chemical reaction, a quiet form of cold fire. Imagine a tiny natural lantern, one that can be switched on and off without any heat or any flame. This is what is happening inside the cells of these deep-sea creatures. The process involves two main ingredients. The first is a molecule called luciferin, which is like the fuel for the lantern. The second is an enzyme called luciferase, which is like the spark that ignites the fuel. When the creature decides to make light, it allows the luciferase to interact with the luciferin, and in the presence of oxygen, a gentle chemical reaction occurs. This reaction releases energy not as heat, but as a soft, cool particle of light, a photon. It is an incredibly efficient process. While a traditional light bulb loses most of its energy as heat, bioluminescence is almost perfectly efficient, converting nearly all of its chemical energy directly into light. It is a testament to the elegant problem-solving of nature. This ability to create light is not a rare quirk. It is the rule, not the exception, in the deep ocean. It is estimated that up to 90% of the animals living in the midwater and deeper zones have some form of bioluminescence. It has evolved independently dozens of times, a clear sign of its critical importance for survival in a world without sun. The light itself is not just a simple on and off switch. Creatures have developed exquisite control over their glow. They can control its brightness, its duration, and even its colour. Some can produce a steady, constant glow. Others can flash their lights in complex rhythmic patterns. Some can release a luminous cloud of chemicals into the water, a shimmering smokescreen to confuse a predator. Still, others have evolved complex organs that function like sophisticated lanterns, complete with lenses to focus the light and shutters to turn it on and off. This is not just a chemical trick. It is a fully developed technology, a biological toolkit that has been refined over hundreds of millions of years. This quiet, cold light is the thread that weaves the fabric of deep-sea society together. It is the language that allows for courtship, for hunting, for defence, and for community in the vast, dark and lonely expanse of the deep ocean. It is a beautiful and gentle reminder that even in the most profound darkness, life finds a way to create its own light, its own beauty, its own quiet conversation. As we watch the gentle twinkling lights that now dot the darkness around us, we might notice that the vast majority of them share a similar hue. They are almost all a soft, ethereal blue or blue-green. This is not a coincidence. It is a beautiful example of how the deep-sea environment has shaped even the very colour of its self-made light. The reason for this blue dominance lies in the physics of how light travels through water, a principle we first encountered on our descent. Just as blue sunlight is the colour that penetrates deepest into the ocean, blue bioluminescence is the colour that travels the farthest. It has the shortest wavelength of the visible spectrum, meaning it is less likely to be scattered or absorbed by the water molecules. For a creature trying to send a signal in the vast open darkness, a blue light is like a clear, loud voice. It can be seen from the greatest distance, requiring the least amount of energy to be effective. A red or yellow light, by contrast, would be like a whisper in a crowded room. It would be absorbed by the water very quickly, fading to blackness after only a few feet. This is also connected to the evolution of eyes in the deep. Since blue is the only colour of light available, whether it's the last vestiges of sunlight in the twilight zone or the bioluminescence of the midnight zone, most deep-sea creatures have evolved eyes that are specifically tuned to be most sensitive to blue light. They have lost the ability to see other colours because in their world, other colours simply do not exist. It is a perfect, self-reinforcing loop. Animals produce blue light because it travels farthest, and they see blue light best because it is the only light there is to see. However, nature always has its exceptions. There are a few rare and fascinating deep-sea fish, like the dragonfish, that have evolved the ability to produce and see red light. In a world where almost no one else can see red, this is a remarkable superpower. The dragonfish can use its red light like a secret invisible searchlight, illuminating its prey without the prey ever knowing it is being watched. It is a private channel of communication, a secret colour in a world of blue, and a stunning reminder of the endless creative ingenuity of life in the deep. The gentle blue-green lights that flicker around us are not random sparks in the dark. They are a language. They are part of a vast, silent and ongoing conversation, a symphony of signals that orchestrates the dance of life in the deep ocean. Each flash, each glow, each shimmer has a purpose, a meaning. One of the most common uses of this light is for defence. When startled, many creatures from tiny shrimp to large squid can emit a brilliant, disorienting flash of light. This sudden burst is designed to startle and temporarily blind an approaching predator, creating a precious moment for the animal to escape into the darkness. It is the deep-sea equivalent of a camera's flashbulb, a sudden, blinding surprise. Some creatures have taken this a step further, developing what is known as the burglar alarm effect. A small crustacean, for example, when caught by a predator like a small fish, will let out a series of frantic, bright flashes. These flashes do not deter the fish that has caught it, but they do attract the attention of larger predators nearby. A bigger fish, drawn by the flashing light, may swoop in and attack the first predator, inadvertently allowing the crustacean to escape in the confusion. It is a desperate but brilliant cry for help into the dark. Bioluminescence is also a powerful tool for hunting. Lures are a common strategy. A deep-sea fish might have a glowing appendage that it dangles in front of its mouth, like a fisherman with a lantern. Smaller, curious creatures are drawn to the mesmerizing, gentle light, swimming closer and closer, unaware that they are approaching the jaws of a patient hunter. And of course, in the immense, unlit vastness of the deep, finding a mate can be an incredible challenge. Many species have evolved unique patterns of light-producing organs on their bodies. These patterns are like unique constellations, specific to each species, and often even specific to males and females. A fish can flash its lights in a particular rhythm, a specific code that says, "I am here and I am one of you." It is a silent, luminous love song, a beacon of hope flashed across the lonely dark water, a way of finding a partner in the largest, darkest habitat on Earth. Of all the creatures that wield the power of living light, perhaps none is more famous than the anglerfish. It is an icon of the deep, a perfect embodiment of the strange and patient strategies required for life in the midnight zone. Let us imagine one now, floating in the immense silent darkness. She's not a creature of speed or grace. Her body is soft and globular, mostly a mouth and a stomach, designed for maximum efficiency in a world where meals are rare. She hangs nearly motionless in the black water, a portrait of immense and unwavering patience. Her secret weapon extends from her head, a long thin filament, a modified dorsal fin spine, and at its very tip is a fleshy glowing bulb. This is the esker, her lure, and it is filled with a colony of symbiotic bioluminescent bacteria. The anglerfish does not create the light herself. She is a keeper of the light. She provides the bacteria with a safe home and a steady supply of nutrients, and in return they provide her with a constant, gentle blue-green glow. She can control the light, not by turning the bacteria on and off, but by restricting blood flow to the esker, or by physically hiding it in a pocket of skin. She can make it pulse, she can make it wiggle, she can make it dance in the dark water. This tiny, solitary light is an irresistible beacon in the food-poor emptiness of the deep. A small fish or crustacean, seeing the gentle, mesmerising glow, is drawn in. It is a point of interest in a world of featureless black. The creature approaches cautiously, perhaps thinking it is a smaller, luminous plankton it can eat. The anglerfish remains perfectly still, a silent, dark shape behind the beautiful, dancing light. She waits, her massive, tooth-filled jaws held slightly open. The curious animal drifts closer and closer still, until it is just inches from the lure. And then, in a sudden, explosive movement, the anglerfish opens her mouth to its full, cavernous size. This creates a powerful suction, and the unfortunate creature, along with the water around it, is inhaled in an instant. The entire event is over in a fraction of a second. The great jaws snap shut, and the anglerfish returns to her state of quiet, patient waiting. Her lonely light is not a sign of terror, but a symbol of a life lived in perfect adaptation to an extreme world. It is a small, hopeful candle in an endless night, a quiet testament to the patient, ingenious, and ultimately successful art of survival. As we drift away from the patient anglerfish and her solitary beacon, let us zoom out our perspective. Let us try to imagine the sheer scale of this phenomenon. We are floating in a realm that is by volume the largest habitat on Earth, and through this entire immense space, countless points of light are turning on and off, glowing, flashing and shimmering. It is a living star field, a silent biological cosmos that mirrors the starry sky above the Earth's atmosphere. Imagine the darkness as a vast black canvas, and bioluminescence as the living paint. There are the sharp, quick flashes of tiny crustaceans, like scattered blue sparks. There are the slow, ethereal glows of jellyfish, pulsing gently like distant nebulae. There are the bright, swirling clouds of light released by squid, temporary galaxies that fade as the creature jets away. There are the organised geometric patterns on the sides of fish, like tiny, moving constellations. This is a world painted in light. It is a place of immense beauty, but a beauty that is almost never seen by human eyes. It is a quiet, ongoing light show that has been performing in the dark for hundreds of millions of years. This is not a chaotic display. It is a world of order, a world of communication, a world of intention. Every point of light has a purpose. It is a lure, a warning, a disguise, or a declaration of love. Together, these individual lights create a dynamic, ever-changing web of information, a silent visual language that connects the inhabitants of this vast, dark space. As we float here, suspended in this biological starfield, we can let go of our reliance on the sun. We can embrace this new kind of light, a light that is more intimate, more personal, more alive. It is a reminder that even in the most profound darkness, life does not just endure, it creates. It creates its own beauty, its own wonder, and its own light. And for a little while we can simply be here, silent observers in the midst of this gentle, living cosmos. Our journey continues downwards, past the 1,000-metre mark. We are now entering a new realm, the bathypelagic zone. Here, there is no memory of the sun. There is no twilight, no shadow, no hint of a world above. This is the midnight zone, a kingdom of perpetual, absolute darkness, immense pressure, and a profound, bone-deep cold. We have now sunk below the last reach of the sun. The faint, silvery blue light of the twilight zone has completely faded, and we are suspended in a darkness that is more profound and complete than any night we have ever known on land. This is the darkness of the womb, the darkness of deep space. It is a perfect, uniform blackness in every direction. Welcome to the Midnight Zone. This realm extends from 1,000 metres down to 4,000 metres, from roughly 300 feet to 13,000 feet. It is a world of staggering size, a colossal volume of water that exists in a state of near-perfect stillness and stability. The pressure here is immense, ranging from over 100 to 400 times the pressure we experience at the surface. It is a weight that would instantly turn any terrestrial structure into dust. Yet, for the creatures here, it is simply the air they breathe, the water they swim in. Their soft, water-filled bodies are in perfect balance with this crushing force, and they move through it with an ease that defies our understanding. The cold is another defining feature of this world. The water temperature hovers at a near freezing and utterly constant 4 degrees Celsius or 39 degrees Fahrenheit. There are no seasons here. There is no summer, no winter. There is only this one, unchanging state of deep, penetrating cold. This cold is a great preserver, but it is also a great inhibitor. It slows down the chemistry of life, forcing everything into a lower gear. The pace of existence here is incredibly slow, patient, and deliberate. And then there is the darkness. It is absolute. The only light that exists in the Midnight Zone is the light that its creatures bring with them, the cool, biological fire of bioluminescence. This self-made light is not an accessory here. It is the entire visual world. The flashes and glows we witnessed in the Twilight Zone are now the sun, the moon, and the stars of this deep inner cosmos. Life here is sparse compared to the bustling Twilight Zone above. Food is incredibly scarce. The gentle rain of marine snow, the organic particles falling from the productive surface waters, is thin and intermittent here. Much of it has already been consumed on its long journey down, and so, the creatures of the Midnight Zone are masters of energy conservation. They have slow metabolisms, they move with a quiet efficiency, and many are designed to be opportunistic hunters, capable of eating a meal that is much larger than themselves, sustaining them for weeks or even months. This is a world of patience, a world of waiting. It is a quiet, stable, and deeply peaceful realm, governed by a simple set of rules. Conserve energy, wait for food, and use your light wisely. In a world without sunlight, the most fundamental compass that guides life on Earth is gone. On the surface, the sun provides a universal up, a source of warmth and energy that orients everything. But here in the Midnight Zone there is no sun. There is no light to cast a shadow, no warmth to feel on your skin. So how do creatures navigate this vast, featureless, three-dimensional blackness? How do they know which way is up or down? How do they find food, avoid predators, and locate mates in this endless dark space? They have learned to rely on a suite of other senses that are far more developed than our own. Vision still plays a role, but it is a vision that is tuned for the faint, intermittent flashes of bioluminescence. Not for ambient light. Many creatures have large, incredibly sensitive eyes, but these eyes are for detecting points of light, not for forming detailed images of the world. The primary sense in this world is touch, or more accurately, the ability to feel the subtle movements of the water. Many deep-sea fish have a highly developed lateral line system. This is a series of small, pressure-sensitive pores and canals that run along the sides of their body. This system acts like a distant sense of touch. It allows the fish to detect the faint vibrations and pressure waves created by other animals moving nearby. It can feel the swish of a predator's tail or the frantic movements of potential prey long before it can see them. It is like having a radar system that paints a picture of the world in patterns of pressure. They can, in a sense, feel the shape of their world. Smell, or chemoreception, is also critically important. The water is a soup of chemical signals. A creature releases chemicals when it is injured, when it is ready to mate, or simply as it exists. These chemical trails or plumes drift through the slow-moving water like a scent on the wind. Predators can follow these faint trails for long distances, homing in on the source of a potential meal. Likewise, creatures can follow the chemical signals of their own species to find a partner in the vast darkness. And what about up and down? Without the visual cue of the sun, how do they orient themselves? Like us, they have an inner ear system that gives them a sense of gravity, a sense of their own body's orientation. But they also live in a world defined by a clear pressure gradient. As you go down, the pressure steadily increases. As you go up, it steadily decreases. They are exquisitely sensitive to these minute changes in pressure, and this gives them a reliable, vertical compass at all times. They feel their way through the darkness, navigating a world of pressure gradients, chemical trails, and the subtle vibrations that betray the presence of others. They have built a complete and complex understanding of their world without ever having seen it in the light of the sun. Let us return once more to the feeling of pressure, for here in the Midnight Zone, it has become a truly dominant force. At these depths, we are experiencing the weight of at least a kilometre of water pressing in on us from every direction. The pressure is over 100 times what it is at the surface. To make this tangible, imagine a single postage stamp on the back of your hand. Now, imagine a large dairy cow balancing perfectly on that tiny square. That is a rough approximation of the pressure being exerted on every single square inch of a creature's body in this realm. How can anything survive such a colossal weight? The secret is that the creatures of the deep are not fighting the pressure. They have surrendered to it. They have achieved a state of perfect balance. Unlike a submarine, which is a hollow, air-filled vessel that must use a strong hull to resist being crushed, these animals have no air spaces inside them. Their bodies are mostly water, and water is virtually incompressible. The pressure inside their cells is the same as the pressure outside their bodies. It is like a water-filled balloon submerged deep in the ocean. The water inside the balloon is pressing outwards with the exact same force that the ocean outside is pressing inwards. The result is a perfect stress-free equilibrium. The pressure simply passes through them, as if they are not even there. This adaptation has profound consequences for their biology. Their cell membranes are made of more fluid, unsaturated fats, which prevents them from becoming stiff and rigid in the cold and under the high pressure. Their proteins and enzymes are also specially adapted, folded into stable shapes that can withstand the squeezing force that would unravel the proteins of a surface dweller. They are, from their very skin to their deepest chemistry, beings of pressure. They are so perfectly adapted to this high-pressure world that they could not survive in ours. If we were to bring a deep-sea fish to the surface, the experience for them would be explosive. The gases dissolved in their blood would expand, and their delicate cellular structures, which rely on the external pressure for stability, would simply fall apart. Our light, airy world would be as deadly to them as their deep, heavy world would be to us. In a world of absolute blackness, one might think that colour is irrelevant. But even here, in the perpetual night of the Midnight Zone, colour plays a crucial role in the game of survival, and the colours of choice for many of the creatures who live here are black and red. The reason for this is beautifully simple, and it connects back to the physics of light that we explored earlier. As we know, red light is the very first colour to be filtered out by the water column. It is completely absorbed within the first few 100 feet of the ocean. This means that in the Midnight Zone there is absolutely no red light in the environment. It simply does not exist here. Now, imagine a creature that is bright red. On land, under the full spectrum of sunlight, it would be a vibrant, eye-catching target. But here, in a world illuminated only by the faint blue-green flashes of bioluminescence, being red is the same as being invisible. When a blue light shines on a red object, there is no red light to reflect back. The red pigment simply absorbs the blue light, and the object appears as a non-reflective, pure black silhouette. Being red is a form of passive, perfect camouflage. It is a way of becoming a hole in the darkness. Many deep-sea shrimp, for example, are a brilliant scarlet colour. If you were to see them in a brightly lit aquarium, they would be stunningly beautiful. But in their natural habitat, they are ghosts melting into the black background, perfectly hidden from the blue-green searchlights of predators. The other dominant colour strategy is, unsurprisingly, pure black. Many of the fish in the midnight zone have developed an ultra-black skin that absorbs over 99.5% of the light that hits it. This is a form of active camouflage. When a predator or prey uses a bioluminescent flash to try and illuminate its surroundings, these ultra-black fish reflect almost nothing back. They do not create a silhouette. They simply swallow the light, revealing nothing of their shape or location. They are masters of absorbing the faint whispers of light that exist in their world. So, in this realm of eternal night, survival means choosing between two paths to invisibility. You can be red and passively absorb the blue light of others, or you can be black and actively absorb it. Both are elegant and effective solutions to the single greatest challenge of this world: how to remain unseen in a darkness that is punctuated by revealing flashes of living light. Let us now meet one of the most iconic and misunderstood residents of the Midnight Zone, the vampire squid. Its scientific name, Vampiroteuthis infernalis, translates to the vampire squid from hell. But despite its fearsome name and its deep velvety black to pale reddish appearance, this creature is not a fearsome predator. It is a gentle, passive, and truly remarkable survivor. The vampire squid is not actually a squid. It is the last living member of its own unique order, a living fossil that has been quietly drifting through the deep ocean for millions of years. It lives in the oxygen minimum zone, a layer of water where the concentration of oxygen is so low that most other complex animals cannot survive. The vampire squid, however, has adapted beautifully. Its blood has a special copper-based protein that binds and transports oxygen with incredible efficiency, and it has a very slow, relaxed metabolism that requires very little energy. It is a master of living in a world that is almost without breath. It has large, beautiful, blue or red eyes that are incredibly sensitive to the faint lights of its world, and it is covered in light-producing organs, the photophores. It has exquisite control over these lights, able to turn them on and off, change their size, and create complex shimmering patterns to confuse and disorient anything that might bother it. Its most famous feature is its cloak. It has 8 arms, but they are connected by a web of skin, creating a dark, flowing cape. If it is threatened, it can pull this cloak up and over its entire body, turning itself into a spiny, dark ball. The underside of its cloak is jet black, making it nearly invisible. But its most unique defense is its ability to release a cloud not of dark ink like other cephalopods, but of sticky bioluminescent mucus. When threatened, it can eject a glowing cloud of light-filled particles that can shimmer and glow for several minutes. This dazzling, sticky cloud confuses the predator, which attacks the light while the vampire squid, now hidden in darkness, drifts slowly away. It does not hunt for live prey. Instead, it is a detritivore, a gentle scavenger. It extends 2 long, sticky filaments and uses them to collect the falling particles of marine snow, the dead plankton, tiny crustacean shells, and other organic debris that drifts down from above. It is a quiet, peaceful collector of the ocean's leftovers, a testament to a life of patience and efficiency. The vampire squid is not a monster. It is a shy, beautiful, and ancient survivor, a perfect symbol of the gentle, strange, and resilient nature of life in the deep, dark, silent world of the Midnight Zone. As we drift here, in the cold, dark, and still water of the Midnight Zone, we can begin to feel the dominant rhythm of this place. It is a rhythm of slowness, of patience, of immense and deep time. Everything here is tuned to a lower frequency. This slowness is not a choice. It is a necessity, a fundamental adaptation to the three great challenges of this realm: the cold, the lack of food, and the high pressure. The constant, near-freezing cold acts as a great decelerator. Just as food lasts longer in a refrigerator, the chemical reactions of life, which we call metabolism, slow down dramatically in the deep chill of this world. The creatures here have what is called a low metabolic rate. Their internal fires burn very, very slowly. A meal that a surface fish might burn through in a day could sustain a deep-sea fish for months. This slow metabolism is the key to surviving in a world where food is scarce. The rain of marine snow is thin and unreliable, and a chance encounter with a larger meal might happen only a few times in a year. And so, life must be lived in the slow lane. Movements are deliberate and efficient, designed to conserve every precious calorie. There is no frantic chasing, no energetic fleeing. There is mostly waiting, waiting for a particle of food to drift by, waiting for the faint chemical trail of a mate, waiting for the subtle pressure wave that signals the approach of a potential meal. This slow pace of life has a profound consequence: longevity. Many deep-sea creatures live for an incredibly long time. A deep-sea rockfish, for example, can live for over 200 years. Growth is incredibly slow, maturity is reached late in life, and reproduction is an infrequent event. Time itself seems to be stretched and diluted in the deep. This slow rhythm is the heartbeat of the midnight zone. It is a gentle, steady, and ancient pulse that has beaten in the dark for eons. It is a life lived without hurry, without seasons, without the frantic cycle of day and night. It is a deep meditative state of being, a quiet existence that we can try to imagine and perhaps even feel as we float here, suspended in the timeless, patient heart of the deep ocean. In the vast, dark emptiness of the midnight zone, where life is often small and slow, the human imagination has long placed monsters. But the truth is not about monsters, it is about marvels. Here, in the profound and silent pressure, live giants of a size and grace that defy our expectations, their stories written in the quiet darkness. For as long as we have sailed the seas, we have told stories about what lies beneath. The surface of the ocean has always been a mirror, reflecting our own fears and our sense of wonder back at us. In the absence of knowledge, in the face of a world so vast and inaccessible, we filled the void with imagination. We dreamed of krakens that could pull entire ships beneath the waves, of sea serpents with coils as wide as hills, and of leviathans whose breath could churn the sea into a foam. These myths, these stories of monsters, were not just tales to frighten children. They were an expression of a deep and instinctual respect for the power and mystery of the ocean. They were a way of acknowledging that beneath the familiar sunlit surface lay a realm that operated by different rules, a world that was beyond our control and our understanding. The monster was a placeholder for the unknown. It gave a name and a face to the feeling of smallness that a sailor must feel when looking out at the endless expanse of water, aware of the miles of darkness that lay directly beneath his fragile vessel. But as our journey continues here in the deep, we find that the truth is both less monstrous and infinitely more wonderful than the myths. The real giants of the deep are not angry beasts of destruction. They're quiet, elusive survivors, masters of an extreme environment. Their lives a slow and silent ballet in the dark. They are creatures of such immense scale and profound rarity that a single glimpse of one is a gift, a brief parting of the curtain into a world that is usually hidden from us. These are not the creatures of nightmare, but of deep, deep time. Their size is a testament to the strange opportunities that the deep ocean provides. The cold, the stability, and the unique pressures of survival have, in some cases, favoured immense growth. So let us gently release those ancient myths of terror and replace them with a quieter sense of awe. Let us approach the true giants of the deep not with fear, but with the peaceful curiosity of a visitor to a sacred and silent place. We're here not to hunt monsters, but to witness marvels, to float for a moment in the presence of beings whose lives are as deep and as mysterious as the world they inhabit. Of all the ocean's gentle giants, none is more elusive or has captured our imagination more than the giant squid, Architeuthis dux. For centuries it was known only from myths, from the sucker, scarred skin of whales, and from the occasional unfortunate specimen that had washed ashore. It was a phantom, a creature of rumour and speculation. But we now know it is very real, a true sovereign of the deep, dark water. Let us imagine one now, materialising out of the blackness. It is a creature of breathtaking scale, with a soft, torpedo-shaped body, or mantle, that can be longer than a person is tall. From this body extend 8 powerful arms, lined with suckers, and 2 impossibly long, feeding tentacles that can stretch for dozens of feet. These tentacles are the squid's connection to its world, capable of shooting out with incredible speed to snatch a fish or a smaller squid from the darkness. The entire animal, from the tip of its mantle to the end of its tentacles, can reach the length of a school bus. But its size is not its most remarkable feature. The eye of the giant squid is a thing of wonder. It can be as large as a human head, the largest eye in the entire animal kingdom. In the near total darkness of the midnight zone, this enormous luminous eye is not for seeing in sharp detail. It is a vast biological light collector designed to capture the faintest, most distant flashes of bioluminescence. It can detect the subtle glow of a fish that a predator is chasing, or the shimmer of a comb jelly from a great distance, giving it a critical advantage in this world of light and shadow. The giant squid is a creature of grace and power. It moves through the water using jet propulsion, drawing water into its mantle and then expelling it with force, gliding through the crushing pressure with an ease that is hard to comprehend. Its skin is thought to be a reddish pink, which, as we know, would make it appear as a deep, non-reflective black in its natural habitat. It is a ghost, a massive, silent hunter that materializes out of the darkness, secures a meal, and then vanishes back into the black from whence it came. For all its size, its life is a mystery. We do not know how long they live, how they find each other to mate, or where they spend the majority of their time. They are solitary wanderers in the immense lonely darkness. To see one is to witness a living myth, a creature that reminds us that the world still holds beings of a scale and a strangeness that are beyond our everyday comprehension. It is a quiet, powerful, and deeply intelligent presence in the heart of the ocean's endless night. Now let us leave the ghostly form of the giant squid and turn our attention to its only known predator, a creature that connects the world of air and sunlight with the deepest parts of the midnight zone. This is the sperm whale, the largest toothed predator on Earth, and it is a visitor to this deep, dark realm. Imagine one at the surface, a massive, dark shape 50 or 60 feet long, with a uniquely squared-off head that makes up nearly a third of its body length. It lies peacefully on the waves, breathing the air, its skin warmed by the sun. It is a social, intelligent mammal living in family groups, communicating with a language of clicks and coders. It is a creature of the light, but it hunts in the dark. When it is ready to feed, the whale takes a series of deep, preparatory breaths, filling its massive lungs and saturating its blood and muscle tissues with oxygen. Then, with a powerful flick of its broad, flat tail or flukes, it arches its back and begins its descent. It is one of the most profound journeys in the natural world. This air-breathing animal leaves its own world behind and willingly, powerfully, dives into an environment that is utterly alien. As it descends, its body undergoes a remarkable transformation. The immense pressure of the deep would crush the lungs of any normal mammal. But the sperm whale's rib cage is flexible and can collapse, squeezing the air from its lungs into a series of reinforced central passageways. Its heart rate slows dramatically, conserving precious oxygen. Blood is shunted away from the extremities and directed to the essential organs, the brain and the heart. The whale becomes a living submarine perfectly designed for this crushing, breathless environment. It can dive to depths of over 2,000 metres or 6,500 feet, far into the midnight zone. It can hold its breath for up to 90 minutes. It is a temporary resident here, a visitor from another world, but while it is here, it is the undisputed king. It has come to this cold, dark and dangerous place for one reason: to hunt the large squid, including the elusive giant squid, that are its primary source of food. This incredible dive is a living bridge between two vastly different worlds, a testament to the power of evolution to solve the most extreme of challenges. It is a reminder that the ocean, for all its distinct layers, is a single, interconnected system, and that the warm breath of the sunlit world can, for a short while, be carried down into the deepest, darkest heart of the sea. How does this air-breathing mammal, this visitor from the sunlit world, find its prey in the absolute, featureless blackness of the midnight zone? It does so not with its eyes, which are surprisingly small and of little use here, but with sound. The sperm whale is a master of echolocation, a biological sonar system that is so powerful and so precise that it is almost difficult for us to comprehend. The whale's enormous squared-off head is not filled with bone. It is a complex and beautiful biological machine, containing two large reservoirs of a special waxy oil called spermaceti. This is the sonar engine. To hunt, the whale produces a series of powerful, sharp clicks. These clicks are generated in a set of air sacs near the front of its head, then focused and amplified by the spermaceti organ. The sound is one of the loudest produced by any animal on Earth. It is a focused, intense beam of sound that the whale projects out into the darkness in front of it. This beam of sound travels through the water until it hits an object: a squid, a fish, the seafloor. When it hits the object, part of the sound, the echo, bounces back. The whale's lower jaw, which is filled with a fatty substance, acts like a sophisticated antenna, receiving these faint returning echoes and transmitting them to its inner ear. Its brain then processes these echoes with incredible speed and precision, building a detailed three-dimensional image of the world in its mind. It is a way of seeing with sound. With these clicks, the whale can determine the location, the size, the shape, the texture, and even the internal structure of a squid from a great distance. It can distinguish between a large, soft-bodied giant squid and a hard, uninteresting rock. It is painting its world with echoes, illuminating the darkness with precisely targeted bursts of sound. This is the sound we hear in the deep, not as a continuous note, but as a rhythmic series of sharp percussive clicks. It is the sound of a hunter, a methodical and confident explorer of the dark. It is a beautiful sensory alternative to sight, a powerful reminder that there are many ways to perceive the world, and that in the absence of a light, sound can become a tool of extraordinary vision. Let us now imagine the moment of encounter. In the silent black water, two giants meet. The sperm whale, guided by its rhythmic clicks of sound, has located its quarry. The giant squid, with its enormous light-gathering eyes, has likely detected the faint bioluminescent trail of the approaching whale, or perhaps felt the subtle pressure waves of its massive body. This is not a chaotic, monstrous clash. It is a slow, methodical, and deeply serious dance between two masters of the deep. The whale, for all its power, is an air breather, and its time here is limited. It must be efficient. The squid, for all its size and strength, is a soft-bodied creature facing the largest toothed predator on the planet. Its survival depends on its intelligence and its unique abilities. The whale approaches, its sonar clicks becoming faster and more focused, creating a high-resolution image of its target. The squid, in response, does not simply flee. It is a powerful and capable animal. It can use its own jet propulsion to maneuver with surprising agility, its 10 arms spread wide, its suckers ready to grasp. The moment of contact is a silent, swirling ballet of immense bodies. The whale attempts to seize the squid in its powerful jaws, which are armed with a formidable set of conical teeth. The squid, in turn, wraps its long, muscular arms and tentacles around the whale's head, its powerful suckers, lined with small, sharp rings of chitin gripping the whale's skin. This is the source of the circular scars that are so often found on the heads of adult sperm whales, the lasting story of these deep-sea encounters. The squid's arms are incredibly strong, and its suckers can create a powerful grip, but it is ultimately outmatched. The whale's size, its strength, and the power of its jaws are overwhelming. The encounter, which may take place over hundreds of feet of water in the crushing dark, is usually brief. The whale secures its meal and begins its long, slow ascent back to the world of light and air, its body carrying the fresh marks of its struggle. The squid becomes the fuel that will power the whale for its life in the sun. This is not an act of malice. It is the ancient, fundamental cycle of life and energy playing out on a grand and epic scale in a theatre of profound darkness. It is a quiet, powerful testament to the lives of the true giants who swim and hunt and fight and die in the silent, hidden heart of the sea. Our descent has been a journey through a world of water, a vast three-dimensional space. But now we are approaching a new frontier. We are nearing the bottom. We are sinking into the abyss-opelagic zone, the abyss, a realm where the water meets the seafloor in a world of profound cold, stillness, and a darkness that feels ancient and absolute. We are now sinking below the 4,000-metre mark, leaving the midnight zone behind and entering the abyss. The very name evokes a sense of infinite bottomless depth, a place of finality. This zone extends from 4,000 metres down to 6,000 metres, or from about 13,000 to 20,000 feet. This is a world that is almost beyond our ability to imagine. The pressure here is staggering, reaching up to 600 times the pressure at the surface. It is a force that would turn a block of wood into a dense, splintered pulp, a force that alters the very chemistry of water itself. The temperature is just as extreme as the abyss, hovering only a few degrees above freezing. A stable, bone-deep cold that has not changed for millennia. And the darkness is not just a lack of light. It feels like a substance, an ancient and heavy blanket that has smothered this world since its creation. There is no bioluminescence here in the water column to rival the symphony of the midnight zone. Life in the open water of the abyss is incredibly sparse, almost non-existent. The great vertical migration does not reach these depths. The vibrant communities of the upper layers are a distant, unreachable memory. The water here is profoundly still, almost motionless. The great currents of the ocean move with a geological slowness at these depths. A particle of water in the abyss might take 1,000 years to complete its journey around the globe. This is a world that operates on a timescale that is alien to us. A world where change is measured in centuries. Food is the single greatest limiting factor of life here. The gentle rain of marine snow, the organic particles falling from the productive surface waters, is at its thinnest, a sparse and almost invisible dusting of nutrients that has survived the long, perilous journey from the sunlit world miles above. Every particle is a treasure, a rare gift of energy in a world of profound scarcity. For a long time, it was believed that life could not exist at these depths. It was thought to be a sterile, empty desert, a final, lifeless void at the bottom of the world. But we now know that this is not true. Life does exist here. It is strange, it is rare, and it is incredibly resilient. The creatures of the abyss are the ultimate survivors, beings that have adapted to a world of crushing pressure, freezing cold, absolute darkness, and near starvation. They are not monsters, but miracles of endurance. As we sink through this last vast layer of open water, we feel a sense of finality, a sense of approach. We are nearing the bottom of the world, the great hidden floor of our planet, a place that holds its own unique secrets and its own unique forms of life. And then, gently, our journey through the water column comes to an end. We have arrived at the bottom. Before us stretches a landscape that is alien, yet strangely familiar. This is the abyssal plain, the vast, flat and featureless floor of the deep ocean. It is the single largest habitat on Earth, covering more than half of the planet's surface. Imagine a desert at midnight, a desert that is impossibly vast, stretching for thousands of miles in every direction, perfectly flat, and covered not in sand, but in a fine, soft and impossibly thick layer of sediment. This sediment is the accumulated history of the ocean. It is made of the microscopic shells of countless trillions of plankton that have lived and died in the surface waters over millions of years, the fine-grained clays that have washed off the continents, and the gentle, constant rain of marine snow. It is a soft, cold and quiet ooze, a blanket of time that can be miles deep. The stillness here is profound. There are no winds to stir the dust, no storms to reshape the landscape. The only currents are slow, gentle, and almost imperceptible, like the slow exhalation of a sleeping giant. The only events that disturb this peace are rare and slow-motion benthic storms, which can stir up clouds of sediment that may take years to settle again. This is a world of immense and silent plains, but it is not entirely flat. It is punctuated by occasional features. There are the abyssal hills, low, rolling rises that are the most common landform on the planet. And there are the seamounts, vast, ancient volcanoes that rise from the plain like lonely mountains in the dark, their peaks sometimes reaching thousands of feet into the water above. These features are oases in the desert, places where currents are slightly stronger and where life can gain a foothold on a hard surface. But for the most part, the world here is one of soft, unending flatness. It is a landscape that speaks of deep time, of slow accumulation, of a peace that is almost absolute. It is the final resting place for everything that sinks from the world above, the quiet, hidden foundation of our planet's oceans. And in this soft, cold mud, in this profound and patient darkness, a unique and gentle form of life has found a way to make its home. In the soft, nourishing sediment of the abyssal plain, a quiet and patient community of creatures makes its home. This is not a life of speed or action, but of slow, deliberate movement and incredible efficiency. These are the farmers and the miners of the ooze, the beings that sift through the accumulated history of the ocean for the tiny particles of food that it contains. Here we might find the sea cucumber or holothurian. These soft-bodied, elongated creatures are the earthworms of the deep sea. They crawl slowly across the seafloor or burrow just beneath it, ingesting vast quantities of mud. Their simple digestive systems extract the tiny bits of organic matter, the marine snow that has settled here, and they leave behind a trail of cleaned, processed sediment. They are the great recyclers, the patient cleaners of the abyssal desert. We might also see the strange and elegant tripod fish. This remarkable creature has 3 long stilt-like fins extending from its body, 2 from its pelvic fins and 1 from its tail. It uses these fins to stand on the soft sea floor, lifting its body up into the slow-moving current. It stands perfectly still, facing into the flow, its long pectoral fins held out in front of it like sensitive antennae. It is waiting to feel the faint vibration of a small crustacean or other tidbit of food drifting by. It is a life of profound and patient stillness, a living sculpture waiting for the ocean to bring it a meal. There are also the burrowers, the worms, and the small crustaceans that live within the sediment itself. We cannot see them, but their presence is recorded in the tracks, the trails, and the small mounds that dot the surface of the ooze. They create a complex, hidden architecture within the seafloor, a network of tunnels and burrows that are a vital part of this slow-moving ecosystem. Life here is defined by its connection to the bottom. It is a two-dimensional existence, a slow crawl across a vast food-dusted plain. It is a testament to the idea that no source of energy, no matter how small or how diffuse, will be overlooked by the tenacity of life. Life on the abyssal plain is a slow, patient affair, sustained by the thin, constant whisper of marine snow. But every once in a while, very rarely, a great feast arrives. This is a whale fall, one of the most important and dramatic events in the deep-sea ecosystem. When a great whale dies in the surface waters, its massive, blubber-rich body will often sink to the bottom. Its journey downwards can take days or even weeks, and when it finally comes to rest on the abyssal plain, it is like a sudden, unexpected lottery win for the creatures of the deep. A single whale carcass can contain as much organic matter as would normally fall on that same patch of seafloor in 2,000 years. The arrival of the whale fall sets off a long and fascinating succession of life. The first to arrive are the mobile scavengers. Guided by an incredibly sensitive sense of smell, creatures like the hagfish, a primitive eel-like fish, and the large crustacean-like amphipods called giant isopods will travel from miles around. They are the clean-up crew, and they will feast on the soft tissues of the whale, stripping the carcass down to the bone over a period of months or even a few years. Once the soft tissue is gone, a new community arrives. These are the enrichment opportunists, creatures like bone-eating worms of the Osedax genus. These bizarre plant-like worms, sometimes called zombie worms, do not have mouths or stomachs. They burrow their roots into the whale bones and use a special acid to dissolve them, absorbing the fats and proteins stored within the bones themselves. This stage can last for years, or even decades, as the worms slowly consume the very skeleton of the great beast. Finally, a third community establishes itself, made up of chemosynthetic bacteria. These bacteria consume the sulfides that are released from the decaying bones, creating a small, long-lasting energy source that can support a community of snails, clams, and other small creatures. A single whale fall can create a vibrant, thriving, and completely unique oasis of life on the abyssal seafloor that can last for a century. It is a beautiful and poignant story of transformation. The whale's death is not an end. It is a final, generous gift, a concentrated burst of life and energy from the sunlit world that seeds a new and long-lasting community in the profound and patient darkness of the abyss. As we rest here, on the quiet, dark floor of the world, we are surrounded by a sense of immense and profound time. The abyssal plain is a geological library, and its soft sediment is a book whose pages are written in millennia. A single inch of this ooze can represent 1,000 years of Earth's history. The processes here are so slow that they are almost outside of our human ability to perceive. The slow drift of the continents, the gradual uplift of mountains, the quiet, patient work of erosion, these are the forces that have shaped this landscape. On the plain, we might see small dark lumps scattered across the surface of the mud. These are manganese nodules. They are strange, metallic concretions that grow with a slowness that is truly geological. They grow layer by layer, like a pearl, but at a rate of only a few millimeters every million years. A nodule the size of a potato may be tens of millions of years old, a silent, stony witness to the entire history of humanity and more. This profound slowness is reflected in the lives of the creatures who live here. Their metabolisms are slow. Their movements are rare and their lives are incredibly long. They are in tune with the deep geological rhythm of their home. This is a world that teaches us the virtue of patience. It is a place that reminds us that not all of life is lived in the fast, bright and hurried pace of the sunlit world. There is another kind of life, a life of stillness, of waiting, of slow and steady endurance. The abyss is a world that is not measured in days or years, but in eons. It is a place of deep, abiding peace, a quiet and stable sanctuary that has remained largely unchanged for millions of years. As we prepare to continue our journey, we can take a moment to absorb this feeling of deep time, this sense of a world where patience is not just a virtue, but the very key to existence. We have journeyed far from the sun into a world that its light has never touched, and yet almost all the life we have encountered, from the twilight zone to the abyssal plain, owes its existence to that distant star. Now, let us pause and connect the threads to understand this quiet, unbroken link between the bright surface and the dark abyss. The sun is the great engine of life on our planet. On land, this is obvious. We see the trees reaching for the sky, the fields of grass soaking in its light, and we feel its warmth on our skin. The entire food web, from the smallest insect to the largest predator, is built upon the foundation of photosynthesis, the simple, magical act of turning sunlight into energy. The same is true for the ocean's surface. In that thin, sunlit layer, microscopic plants called phytoplankton perform the same miracle. They are the great, invisible pasture of the sea, the foundation of a bustling ecosystem of zooplankton, fish, birds, and marine mammals. But what happens when you leave that world of light behind? What happens when you sink into the deep, dark, cold world that makes up over 90% of the ocean's living space? For a long time, this was a profound mystery. How could life exist in a world with no light, and therefore no plants? How could a food web even begin? The answer is both simple and beautiful. The deep ocean does not have its own source of primary production. It is for the most part a world that survives on leftovers. It is a kingdom that is sustained by a constant, gentle and nourishing rain of life from the world above. Every creature that lives and dies in the sunlit zone, every microscopic plant, every tiny animal, every particle of waste they produce, becomes a potential source of food for the world below. The sun casts a very long shadow, and that shadow paradoxically is what feeds the deep. It is a connection that is both profound and tenuous. The vast majority of the energy created at the surface is consumed at the surface. Only a tiny fraction, perhaps 1 to 3% of the life produced in the sunlit zone ever makes it to the abyssal seafloor. But in a world of such immense size, even that tiny fraction is enough to sustain a vast and wondrously adapted web of life. It is a food web based not on creation, but on reception. It is a world of waiters, of scavengers, and of patient collectors, all of them oriented in some way to the faint, nourishing signal that trickles down from the distant, forgotten sun. This connection is a beautiful illustration of the unity of the ocean, a reminder that it is not a series of separate worlds, but a single, deeply interconnected system. How does the energy from the sunlit world make its long journey down into the abyss? It travels in a form that is as poetic as it is vital: marine snow. This is not snow in the way we understand it, not frozen crystals of water. Instead, it is a continuous, gentle and silent shower of organic particles, falling from the upper ocean into the depths. Imagine you are floating in the deep, dark water and you shine a faint light. You would see what looks like a slow-motion, underwater blizzard. Countless tiny white and grey specks drifting, tumbling and sinking with a profound and graceful slowness. These are the snowflakes of the deep. They are a complex and ever-changing mixture of things. They are the dead bodies of tiny phytoplankton and zooplankton. They are the shed exoskeletons of small crustaceans. They are fecal pellets, the waste products of the creatures in the upper ocean. They are particles of dust and soot that have landed on the ocean's surface from the atmosphere. As these individual particles sink, they have a tendency to clump together, bound by a sticky mucus secreted by bacteria and other microorganisms. These clumps, or aggregates, can grow to be several centimetres across, becoming a surprisingly rich and nourishing package of food. This is more than just a random collection of debris. Each particle of marine snow is a tiny mobile ecosystem. It is colonised by a community of bacteria, fungi and other microbes. These microbes are the great decomposers. As the snowflake sinks, they are actively breaking it down, recycling its nutrients, and in doing so, they are making it more digestible for the creatures that will eventually consume it. They are like tiny chefs, preparing the meal on its way to the dinner table. This phenomenon is happening all over the world's oceans, all the time. It is a constant, steady and life-giving snowfall. It is the primary source of food for the vast majority of creatures living in the non-photosynthetic zones of the ocean. It is the foundation of the entire deep-sea food web, from the filter-feeding creatures in the mid-water to the mud-eaters on the abyssal plain. It is the physical manifestation of the connection between the sun and the abyss, the gentle, edible link that ties the top of the ocean to its deepest, darkest bottom. It is a quiet, beautiful, and unending blizzard that sustains a hidden world. Let us follow the journey of a single imaginary particle of marine snow. Our particle begins its life in the sunlit zone, perhaps as a tiny single-cell diatom, a type of phytoplankton. It lives a short life, floating in the warm water, turning sunlight into energy. When it dies, its microscopic glassy shell begins to sink. At first it is alone, a single speck of dust in a vast ocean. But soon it bumps into other particles, a discarded copepod shell, a speck of fish waste, and thanks to the sticky mucus that coats everything, it clumps together with them. Our snowflake is born. Its journey downwards is incredibly slow. A typical particle of marine snow sinks at a rate of only a few hundred feet per day. A journey from the surface to the abyssal plain miles below can take weeks or even months. It is a slow, graceful and perilous descent. As it falls through the twilight zone, it enters a world of hungry mouths. It might be captured by the feathery arms of a pteropod, a tiny swimming snail, or be filtered from the water by the delicate mucus net of a lavacean. The twilight zone is a great filter, and the vast majority of marine snow is consumed here, fueling the massive biomass of this dimly lit world. Our particle, however, is lucky. It slips past the hungry hunters and continues its journey downwards, into the midnight zone. Here, the water is colder and life is more sparse. The chances of being eaten are lower, but not zero. A patient, waiting anglerfish might not be interested in our snowflake, but a drifting vampire squid might extend its sticky filament and capture it, a tiny welcome snack in the food-poor darkness. On and on it falls through the immense empty-feeling water of the abyssopelagic zone. On its long journey, the bacteria that live on its surface have been busy, constantly decomposing it, breaking down its complex molecules and in a sense consuming it from the inside out. Our snowflake is shrinking, losing some of its nutritional value with every day that passes. Finally, after a journey that has lasted for weeks, our small, well-travelled particle of marine snow comes to rest. It settles, as gently as a speck of dust on a quiet windowsill, onto the soft, cold ooze of the abyssal plain. Its long journey is over. It will now become food for a slow-moving sea cucumber, or be buried in the sediment to nourish the burrowing worms within. A tiny pulse of energy, born in the sun, has finally arrived at the bottom of the world. The arrival of marine snow on the seafloor, or its passage through the water column, is the central event around which deep sea life is organised. The creatures of the deep have evolved a beautiful and diverse array of strategies to collect this gentle, nourishing rain. In the midwater, many creatures are filter feeders. They have developed delicate fan-like appendages or intricate nets of mucus that they use to strain the water, capturing the tiny particles that drift by. The vampire squid, as we know, uses its long, sticky filaments. The beautiful Dumbo octopus spreads the webbing between its arms to create a kind of living parachute, hoping to intercept falling particles. On the seafloor, the strategies are different. The sea cucumbers, the great deposit feeders, simply ingest the mud, indiscriminately consuming the sediment to extract the accumulated snow within. Other creatures like the brittle stars, which are related to starfish, will raise their long feathery arms up into the water, acting like living nets to catch the particles as they settle. The tripod fish, standing on its long fins, is waiting for slightly larger particles, perhaps a small dead crustacean that is still part of the marine snow blizzard. Every creature is adapted to its own particular niche in this food chain of leftovers. Because the supply of food is so thin and so widespread, there is very little direct competition. Life is a patient game of collecting, of waiting, of making the most of every single precious calorie that arrives from the world above. The body shapes, the behaviours, the very metabolisms of these creatures are all dictated by the nature of their food source. They must be incredibly efficient. They cannot afford to waste energy on fast movements or unnecessary activities. This is why the pace of life is so slow. It is a direct reflection of the slow, gentle and sparse delivery of food from the distant sun. The entire ecosystem from top to bottom is a masterpiece of energy conservation, a quiet and elegant solution to the problem of living on a diet of falling snow in a world of perpetual night. And so, we see the connection made whole. It is an unbroken chain of life, a vast vertical river of energy that flows from the sun, through the phytoplankton, down through the water column as marine snow, and finally into the bodies of the creatures of the deepest abyss. It is one of the most fundamental and important cycles in the entire planetary system. This downward flow of energy is not just about food. It is also a critical part of the Earth climate regulation system. The process is called the biological carbon pump. The phytoplankton at the surface take in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. When they die and sink as marine snow, they carry that carbon with them into the deep ocean. Once that carbon reaches the abyss, it can be locked away, sequestered in the deep water and the seafloor sediments for thousands, or even millions, of years. This process, this gentle, constant snowfall, is responsible for removing a significant amount of carbon dioxide from our atmosphere, helping to keep our planet's climate stable. The tiniest creatures at the surface and the strangest creatures at the bottom of the sea are all part of a single planetary scale process that affects every living thing on Earth. It is a humbling and beautiful thought. It means that the deep ocean is not a separate, isolated world. It is an integral and active part of the Earth system. The health of the sunlit surface is directly linked to the health of the deep abyss, and the processes happening in the deepest darkness have a profound impact on the world of light. As we float here, imagining this silent, ceaseless blizzard all around us, we can appreciate the profound and elegant unity of it all. Every living thing, from the bird in the sky to the worm in the abyssal mud, is connected, part of a single, great and mysterious story. We have spoken of the slow pace of life in the deep, a rhythm dictated by the scarcity of food, but this slowness is more than just a survival strategy. It is a fundamental state of being, a deep and peaceful cadence set by the unchanging conditions of the abyss, the profound cold, the immense pressure, and the eternal darkness. Let us focus on the cold. Here in the deep ocean below the first few 100 meters, the water temperature is remarkably constant. It hovers at a chilling 2 to 4 degrees Celsius, just a few degrees above freezing. This temperature does not fluctuate. There is no warm summer or cool winter. There is only this one single perpetual state of deep penetrating cold. This constant chill is one of the primary conductors of the slow symphony of life. Cold temperatures naturally slow down the rate of chemical reactions. Think of how we use a refrigerator to preserve food. The cold slows down the process of decay by inhibiting the chemical reactions of the bacteria that would spoil it. The same principle applies to the very chemistry of life itself. The internal processes of a deep-sea creature, its metabolism, its digestion, its cell division, all run at a much slower rate than they would in a warmer environment. This is not a flaw, it is a feature. This externally imposed slowness is a powerful tool for energy conservation. In a world where a meal might be a rare and celebrated event, the ability to make that energy last for as long as possible is the key to survival. The cold's embrace forces a kind of mandatory patience upon every living thing. It is an environment that does not reward haste. Speed requires a high metabolic rate, a fast burning of fuel, which is a luxury the deep-sea ecosystem cannot afford. And so, life has adapted by leaning into the slowness, by optimizing its very biochemistry to function in this stable, frigid world. This constant cold also contributes to the incredible stability of the deep-sea environment. While the surface world is subject to storms, heat waves, and seasonal shifts, the deep ocean remains a sanctuary of sameness. It is a world that has remained virtually unchanged for millions of years. This stability has allowed for the development of life forms that are exquisitely tuned to their environment, their long, slow lives playing out in a world that never hurries, a world held in a state of suspended animation by the gentle, constant, and life-shaping embrace of the cold. The sum of all the chemical reactions happening inside a living organism is called its metabolism. It is, in a sense, the organism's internal fire. It is the process of converting food into the energy needed for movement, for growth, and for simply staying alive. The creatures of the sunlit world, living in warm water with abundant food, tend to have a fast metabolism. Their internal fire is like a roaring bonfire, burning through fuel quickly to power an active, energetic life. But the creatures of the deep have a different kind of fire. Theirs is like a single, slow-burning candle in a vast, dark room. It is a tiny, precious flame that must be tended with the utmost care, a metabolism that has been slowed down to an almost unbelievable degree. This is a direct consequence of the cold and the scarcity of food. A low metabolic rate means a low energy requirement. A deep-sea fish may only need 1/10, or even 100th, of the food that a similarly sized shallow water fish would need to survive. This allows them to exist in a world that we would consider a barren desert. They have mastered the art of doing more with less. This slow internal fire has consequences for every aspect of their lives. Growth is incredibly slow. A fish might take decades to reach a size that its shallow water cousin would reach in a single year. They reach sexual maturity very late in life, sometimes not until they are over 100 years old. Reproduction is an infrequent and low-energy affair, producing only a few, large, well-provisioned eggs at a time, rather than the thousands of tiny eggs spawned by surface fish. Even the process of healing and cellular repair is slowed down. Life is a long, slow, and carefully managed process of energy conservation. This is not a lesser form of existence, it is a different and highly successful strategy. By slowing their internal clocks to a crawl, the creatures of the deep have unlocked the ability to thrive in the largest but most food-poor habitat on Earth. They have exchanged the roaring bonfire of a short, fast life for the quiet, steady glow of a long, slow one. They are the patient keepers of a tiny, ancient flame, a fire that burns with a quiet intensity in the deepest, coldest, and darkest corners of our world. One of the most curious and paradoxical phenomena of the deep ocean is something scientists call deep-sea gigantism. While many deep-sea creatures are small, as a way to conserve energy, some species grow to be much, much larger than their relatives in shallow water. We see this in the giant isopods, which look like pill bugs grown to the size of a football. We see it in the Japanese spider crab, whose leg span can reach over 12 feet, and we see it, of course, in the giant squid. Why would this happen in a world where food is so scarce? The exact reasons are still being debated, but it seems to be connected to the very same slowness that defines all life here. The combination of a slow metabolism and a very long lifespan gives these creatures an extended period of time to grow. On the surface, a creature might live for a few years, growing quickly and then stopping once it reaches maturity. But in the deep, a creature might live for 100 years or more, and it may continue to grow, albeit very slowly, for its entire life. The constant near-freezing temperature also plays a role. In cold water, dissolved oxygen is more plentiful, which can help support a larger body size. Furthermore, the immense pressure may have an effect on metabolic processes that somehow favours larger cell sizes. A larger body can also be more efficient. It can travel farther with less energy to find scarce food. It is better at storing energy in its tissues during times of feast, and a larger female can produce larger, more robust eggs, giving her offspring a better chance of survival. And so, in the slow lane of the deep ocean, two successful strategies have emerged. One is to be small, efficient, and unobtrusive. The other is to be a giant, a slow-growing, long-lived titan that has patiently accumulated its size over a lifetime that can span centuries. Both are beautiful adaptations to the unique challenges of life in the deep. Let us meet a true master of the slow dance of life, a creature that is the very embodiment of longevity, the Greenland shark. This ancient and mysterious animal lives in the cold, deep waters of the North Atlantic and Arctic Oceans. It is a large creature, growing up to 24 feet long, making it one of the largest carnivorous sharks in the world. But it is not its size that is most remarkable. It is its age. The Greenland shark is the longest living vertebrate animal known to science. They can live for at least 272 years, and scientists believe they may well live to be over 500 years old. A Greenland shark swimming in the ocean today could have been born before the signing of the Declaration of Independence, before the invention of the steam engine, before the great age of exploration had even fully begun. It is a living vessel of history, a quiet witness to centuries of change in the world above, all while it has continued its slow, silent life in the unchanging darkness. Its longevity is a direct result of its incredibly slow metabolism, a product of the frigid water it calls home. It moves with an almost dreamlike slowness, its official top speed being clocked at less than 2 miles per hour. It is not an active hunter that chases down its prey. It is a slow, silent opportunist, a scavenger that feeds on whatever it can find, from fish and seals to the sunken carcasses of polar bears and reindeer. Its eyesight is very poor. In fact, most Greenland sharks have a parasitic coat pod permanently attached to their corneas, rendering them almost completely blind. But in the dark world they inhabit, sight is of little importance. They navigate and find food using their powerful sense of smell. The shark's entire being is a testament to the power of slowness. It grows at a rate of less than half an inch per year. It does not even reach sexual maturity until it is around 150 years old. Its life is a long, slow, and patient story, written in the cold, dark water of the Arctic deep. To contemplate the Greenland shark is to contemplate a different scale of time, a different way of being. It is a humbling reminder of the deep, slow, and ancient rhythms of life that persist in the hidden corners of our world, far from our own hurried existence. As we float here in the deep, let us try to imagine what it would be like to live a life without time's familiar markers. For the creatures of the abyss, there is no day or night. The sun does not rise to signal the start of activity, nor does it set to bring a time of rest. There is only a single, continuous and unending state of darkness, punctuated by the brief biological lights of its inhabitants. There are no seasons. There is no gentle warmth of spring to bring forth new life. There is no long, lazy summer. There is no crisp autumn, no dormant winter. There is only the one constant, unchanging state of cold. The great, rhythmic cycles that govern our lives on the surface are completely absent here. This timelessness has a profound effect on the way life is lived. Without the cycle of day and night, activity is not synchronized. There is no universal time for hunting, for resting, for mating. Events happen when the opportunity arises, not according to an external clock. A creature might eat only when a particle of marine snow happens to drift by, an event that is essentially random. Without seasons, reproduction is not tied to a particular time of year. A deep-sea fish does not have a spawning season. It reproduces when it has finally, slowly, accumulated enough energy to do so, an event that might happen only once every decade. This is a world of continuous steady-state existence. It is a life that is not measured in sunrises or changing leaves, but in chance encounters and the slow accumulation of energy. This might sound like a monotonous existence, but we can also frame it as a form of profound peace. It is a life free from the frantic pressures of a ticking clock. It is a world of immense stability, where the rules of existence are simple, clear, and unchanging. It is a deep, meditative state of being that has persisted, uninterrupted for millions of years. To imagine this life is to imagine a state of pure being, a quiet flow of existence that is not chopped up into days and years, but stretches out in a single, unbroken thread through deep time. We often think of the deep ocean environment as harsh. The crushing pressure, the frigid cold, the absolute darkness, the near starvation level of food. And by the standards of surface life it certainly is. But as we've seen, these very conditions, these apparent hardships, are also the source of a remarkable gift. That gift is time. The cold that slows down metabolism also slows down the process of aging, granting the gift of immense longevity. The darkness that hides predators and prey also removes the frantic 24-hour cycle of hide and seek, granting the gift of a more patient, opportunistic existence. The scarcity of food that prevents a fast and energetic life also fosters a slow and steady one, granting the gift of endurance. The high pressure that requires such specialized adaptations also creates a stable and unchanging world, granting the gift of continuity. In this light, the deep ocean is not a harsh prison, but a unique and peaceful sanctuary. It is a world that has traded the chaotic, high-energy abundance of the surface for a quiet, low-energy stability that allows for lives of incredible length and patience. The Greenland shark, living for half a millennium, is not an anomaly. It is the ultimate expression of the deep ocean's fundamental principle, that slowness is a form of strength, and that patience is the key to survival. The deep sea is a reminder that there are other ways to live, other rhythms to follow. It is a quiet counterpoint to our own fast-paced, sun-drenched world. It teaches us that in the absence of light and warmth, life can find a different kind of richness, a richness that is measured not in the number of breaths you take, but in the deep, slow, and patient passage of time. The immense pressure of the deep has sculpted life into unexpected forms. Here, strength is not found in bone and muscle, but in softness and water. We now turn our attention to the ethereal, ghostly, and gelatinous creatures that drift with a silent grace through the crushing darkness. Beings that have mastered the art of yielding to the abyss. In the world of biology, there is a simple, elegant principle. Form follows function. The shape of a creature, its anatomy, its very substance, is a direct reflection of the life it leads and the environment it inhabits. A cheetah is built for speed. With long legs and a flexible spine, an eagle has sharp talons for grasping and keen eyes for spotting prey from a great height. Every living thing is a beautiful living sculpture, shaped by the relentless and artistic hands of evolution. Nowhere is this principle more evident than in the deep ocean. We have seen how the need to perceive a dark world has led to enormous, sensitive eyes. We have seen how the need to conserve energy has led to large mouths and expandable stomachs. And now, we will explore how the single, overwhelming reality of immense pressure has favoured a form that we on the surface might perceive as fragile or weak, the gelatinous body. When we think of an animal, we tend to picture something with a solid structure, a skeleton, muscles, firm tissues, but this body plan is a terrestrial one, designed for a life of fighting gravity in an ocean of air. In the deep ocean, this kind of rigid structure is not only unnecessary, it can be a liability. The pressure is so great that maintaining hollow spaces or rigid air-filled bones is an enormous challenge, and so a different kind of form has come to dominate the mid-water of the deep. It is a body that is composed mostly of water, held together by a delicate matrix of proteins and collagens. It is a body that is, in essence, a highly organised and beautiful jelly. These gelatinous creatures are not fighting the pressure. They are in harmony with it. Their watery bodies are neutrally buoyant, meaning they can float effortlessly at any depth without expending energy. And because they are nearly the same density as the water around them and have no air spaces to crush, the immense pressure passes through them harmlessly. They have solved the problem of pressure by becoming one with their environment. Their ghostly, ethereal forms are a perfect and beautiful answer to the challenges of their world. Choosing a gelatinous body plan is not just about surviving the pressure. It comes with a whole suite of advantages that make it a highly successful strategy for life in the deep. The first, as we have touched upon, is energy efficiency. A body made of jelly is metabolically cheap to build and to maintain. It requires far less energy than building dense muscle and bone. In a world where calories are the ultimate currency, this is a profound advantage. It allows these creatures to grow to very large sizes with a minimal investment of food. A giant deep-sea jellyfish, which can have a bell several feet across and tentacles over 100 feet long, is a truly massive animal, but its actual organic content, its dry weight, is incredibly small. It is a living ghost, a creature of immense presence but very little substance. This body plan is also a form of camouflage. Many gelatinous animals are almost completely transparent. In the dim light of the twilight zone or the bioluminescent flashes of the midnight zone, a transparent body is the next best thing to being invisible. Light passes right through them, making them incredibly difficult for both predators and prey to spot. They are living panes of glass, silent, invisible hunters and hiders in the vast open water. The gelatinous form is also a wonderful platform for hunting. Many of these creatures, like the jellyfish and the siphonophores, are passive predators. They drift through the water with their long stinging tentacles spread out like a vast living net. They don't need to expend energy chasing their prey. They simply wait for a small fish or crustacean to bump into their nearly invisible tentacles. It is a patient, low-energy, and highly effective way to make a living. And finally, their soft, yielding bodies are surprisingly resilient. While they may seem fragile, their lack of rigid structures means they are less prone to certain kinds of damage. They can bend and deform without breaking. In the slow, gentle world of the deep, this soft-bodied resilience is a quiet kind of strength. From energy savings to invisibility, the gelatinous lifestyle is a beautiful and comprehensive solution to the puzzle of deep-sea survival, proving that in the crushing embrace of the abyss, the most successful form is often the one that offers the least resistance. Let us now meet a creature that combines a soft, gelatinous body with one of the most bizarre and wonderful visual systems on Earth. This is the barrel-leaf fish, Macropinna microstoma. It is a small, quiet resident of the twilight zone, a perfect example of the strange and beautiful forms that life can take in the deep. At first glance, the barrelay is a strange-looking fish. It has a small mouth and a dark torpedo-shaped body. But its head is unlike anything else in the sea. The top of its head is a completely transparent, fluid-filled dome, like the cockpit canopy of a futuristic aircraft. Inside this clear shield, you can see the internal workings of the fish's head, including its remarkable eyes. The eyes of the barrel-eye are not the two dark spots on the front of its face that look like eyes. Those are actually its olfactory organs, its organs of smell. Its real eyes are two large, green, barrel-shaped structures that are located inside its transparent head, and they are typically pointed straight upwards. These tubular eyes are incredibly sensitive, designed to collect the faintest whispers of sunlight filtering down from the world above. The green pigment in the eyes is thought to filter out the scattered sunlight, helping the fish to better spot the faint bioluminescent glows of its prey, particularly jellyfish. For a long time, scientists were puzzled. They thought that with these fixed upward-pointing eyes, the fish could only see what was directly above it, making it impossible to see the food it was trying to eat with its tiny mouth. But then, through observations made with deep-sea robotic vehicles, the secret was revealed. The barrel-eye's incredible eyes can rotate. While it is swimming horizontally, its eyes point up, scanning the water above for the telltale silhouettes or glows of food. When it spots a potential meal, a small crustacean, or a jellyfish, it pivots its body into a vertical position. As it does so, its eyes rotate forward, allowing it to keep its prey in perfect sight as it carefully approaches and sucks it into its small mouth. The transparent dome is a shield, protecting its sensitive eyes, perhaps from the stinging cells of the jellyfish it eats. The barrel-eye is a quiet marvel of evolution. It is a living demonstration of the incredible ways that life can adapt to see in a world of shadows. Its ghostly, transparent head and its remarkable, rotating eyes are a beautiful solution to the unique challenges of hunting in the perpetual silvery blue twilight of the deep ocean. The barrel-eye is just one of a whole host of ghostly, ethereal creatures that drift through the deep. This is a realm of phantoms, of beings so delicate and translucent that they seem to be made more of water and light than of solid matter. Here we find the ctenophores, or comb jellies. They are not true jellyfish, but they are just as gelatinous. Their bodies are lined with rows of tiny beating cilia, which are like microscopic hairs. These cilia refract light, creating shimmering rainbow-like patterns that pulse down the creature's body as it moves. They are living swimming rainbows in the dark, some of the most beautiful and delicate creatures in the ocean. Here, too, we might encounter the Dumbo octopus. Named for the large ear-like fins on the sides of its head, this octopus lives on the abyssal seafloor. It does not swim by jet propulsion like other octopuses. Instead, it slowly and gracefully flaps its large fins, looking for all the world like a small, ghostly elephant flying through the water. It spreads the webbing between its arms to create a kind of bell, hoping to trap small worms and crustaceans on the seafloor. Its movements are slow, hypnotic, and utterly serene. And then there are the siphonophores. These are perhaps the strangest of all. A siphonophore is not a single animal. It is a colonial organism made up of thousands of tiny individual creatures called zooids, all joined together. Each zooid is specialized for a particular task. Some form the swimming bell, some form the stinging tentacles, some are for digestion, some for reproduction. They are like a living, swimming city, a single coordinated being made of thousands of smaller parts. Some siphonophores can grow to be over 130 feet long, making them potentially the longest animals in the world, a fragile, beautiful and deadly ribbon of life drifting silently through the abyss. These phantoms, these ghosts of the deep, are a reminder that strength in this world is not about rigidity, but about grace, efficiency, and the beauty of a near-invisible form. As our journey through this gelatinous world comes to a close, we are left with a new understanding of strength. In our world on land, we associate strength with hardness, with rigidity, with things that can resist a force, a stone, a tree trunk, a bone. But in the deep ocean, under the immense, uniform and constant pressure, this kind of strength is meaningless. The greatest force in this world is the water itself, and to fight it is to lose. The true strength, The true resilience is found in yielding. The gelatinous creatures have embraced this principle. Their bodies are fragile in our hands, in our world of air and sharp edges. A deep-sea jellyfish brought to the surface would collapse into a shapeless puddle under its own weight. But in their own world, in their native environment, they are perfectly and beautifully strong. Their fragility is their power. Their softness allows them to be in perfect harmony with the immense pressure that surrounds them. Their transparency allows them to be invisible. Their low-energy bodies allow them to thrive where others would starve. They teach us that strength can be quiet, that it can be soft, and that it can be found in the art of letting go. They are the peaceful Zen masters of the abyss, a living embodiment of the idea that the softest things in the world can overcome the hardest. As we leave this ghostly realm behind, we can carry with us this sense of gentle, yielding strength, this appreciation for the profound and unexpected beauty of fragility. We have journeyed far and deep, but there is one last frontier to cross, one final descent to make. We are now approaching the deepest parts of our planet's oceans, the great oceanic trenches. This is the Hadal Zone, named after Hades, the underworld. It is a world of almost unimaginable pressure, a place that was once thought to be utterly devoid of life. We are now sinking below 6,000 meters, or nearly 20,000 feet. The abyssal plain, the vast flat floor of the ocean, now gives way to a new and dramatic topography. We are drifting over the edge of an oceanic trench. These trenches are the deepest parts of our world. They are long, narrow, V-shaped canyons that are formed by the slow, powerful process of plate tectonics, where one of the Earth's great crustal plates is slowly sliding or subducting beneath another. The deepest of these is the Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean, which plunges down to a depth of nearly 11,000 meters, or almost 7 miles. If you were to place Mount Everest at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, its peak would still be more than a mile beneath the surface of the waves. This is the Hadal Zone. It is a world that exists almost entirely in a series of these isolated trenches, scattered around the globe. Each trench is like a separate, disconnected island of extreme life, its inhabitants often unique to that one location. The conditions here are at the very edge of what we thought life could tolerate. The pressure is the most defining feature. At the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the pressure is over 1,000 times greater than at the surface. It is the equivalent of having 50 jumbo jets stacked on top of a single person. It is a pressure so intense that it changes the fundamental properties of water, making it denser and more viscous. It is a pressure that warps the very shape of the molecules that make life possible. The temperature is just as extreme as the abyss, hovering just above freezing, and the darkness is absolute and ancient. There is no biological light in the water column here. The only light is what little may be produced by the creatures on the very bottom. Food is even scarcer here than on the abyssal plains. The trenches act like funnels, and organic matter, including the occasional whale fall or the sunken remains of a tree washed out to sea, can be concentrated here. But on the whole, it is a world of extreme starvation. For all these reasons, the Hadal Zone was long considered to be a lifeless void. It was simply thought to be impossible for any biological system to function under such colossal, molecule-bending pressure. But as is so often the case with the ocean, our assumptions were wrong. Life is here. It is tenacious. It is strange. And it is a testament to the incredible, stubborn, and beautiful adaptability of biology. How is it possible for life to exist under the crushing, deforming pressure of the Hadal Zone? How can the delicate machinery of a living cell, the proteins and the membranes, function when they are being squeezed with a force of over 1,000 atmospheres? The answer lies in a subtle and beautiful biochemical adaptation. The creatures of the Hadal Zone have evolved special molecules in their cells called piezolites, which means pressure lights. The most important of these is a molecule called trimethylamine N-oxide, or TMAO for short. This small organic molecule has a remarkable property. It helps to support and stabilise the structure of proteins and cell membranes. Under normal conditions, the immense pressure of the Hadal zone would force water into the tiny crevices of a protein, disrupting its delicate, folded shape and preventing it from working properly. It would also compress the fatty membranes that surround the cell, making them stiff and impermeable. TMAO works by essentially pushing back. It helps to keep the proteins in their correct functional shape, and it maintains the necessary fluidity and flexibility of the cell membranes. It is like a tiny, internal scaffolding that protects the delicate architecture of the cell from being crushed and distorted by the immense external pressure. It is a gentle, molecular answer to a colossal physical force. This is why, if you were to smell a fish from the Hadal zone, it would have a distinctly fishy, almost ammonia-like odour. That smell is the TMAO. The deeper a creature lives, the more TMAO it needs to have in its cells to counteract the pressure. This simple, elegant and powerful adaptation is what makes life possible at the very limits of our planet. It is a quiet internal strength, a molecular resilience that has allowed life to colonise the deepest, darkest and most highly pressurised corners of our world. It is a beautiful example of how the grandest challenges in nature are often solved at the smallest and most invisible of scales. When we imagine the deepest living creature in the ocean, our minds might conjure images of armoured, monstrous beasts. But the reality is, as always, more surprising and more gentle. The deepest living fish known to science is the Mariana snailfish. It is a small, soft and unassuming creature. It is about the length of a human hand, with a translucent, scaleless, pinkish-white body that is almost entirely gelatinous. It looks more like a tadpole than a formidable deep-sea survivor. But this small, fragile-looking fish is one of the most successful and abundant predators in the deepest habitat on Earth. It has been observed swimming happily at depth of over 8,000 metres, or more than 5 miles down. Its success comes from its very lack of substance. Its soft, gelatinous body, free of any air spaces, is perfectly adapted to the pressure. Its bones are not fully ossified. They are made of soft, flexible cartilage, preventing them from being crushed. Its body is filled with the pressure-stabilising TMAO molecules that allow its cells to function. It is a creature that is in perfect equilibrium with its extreme environment. The Hadal snailfish is not a passive floater. It is an active and surprisingly nimble hunter. It swims slowly over the bottom of the trench, using its sensitive snout to probe the mud for the small crustaceans that are its primary food source. It is the top predator of its world, a quiet and gentle king of the deepest kingdom. The snailfish teaches us a profound lesson. Life at the extremes is not necessarily about being bigger, or tougher, or more heavily armoured. The deepest parts of our world, the most successful strategy is to be small, soft, yielding, and biochemically brilliant. The Hadal snailfish is not a monster. It is a small, pink, and incredibly resilient miracle of adaptation, a quiet and peaceful ruler of the deepest, darkest, and most pressurised place on Earth. While the snailfish may be the top predator, the vast majority of life in the Hadal trenches is made up of much smaller creatures. The dominant life forms here are humble, shrimp-like crustaceans called amphipods. If you were to place a baited camera on the floor of the Mariana Trench, it would not be long before it was swarmed by a veritable cloud of these small, energetic creatures. They are the scavengers and the decomposers of the Hadal zone, playing a role similar to that of insects on land. They are drawn with incredible speed and accuracy to any food that falls into the trench. They have an exceptionally well-developed sense of smell, able to detect the faintest chemical signals of a potential meal from a great distance. Like the snailfish, their bodies are loaded with TMAO to protect them from the pressure. And interestingly, scientists have found that many of these Hadal amphipods have a special aluminum-based gel that forms a protective coating over their exoskeletons. It is thought that this gel helps to protect them from the crushing pressure and from the corrosive effects of the deep-sea chemistry. Some species of hadal amphipods can be surprisingly large, an example of deep-sea gigantism, reaching over a foot in length. But most are small, numerous, and incredibly active. They are the foundation of the hadal food web. They consume the falling organic matter, and they, in turn, become the primary food source for predators like the hadal snailfish. The image of the deep trenches as a silent, motionless void is incorrect. At the very bottom, there is a constant, energetic bustle of these small, hardy crustaceans, a hidden city of amphipods, swarming, feeding, and recycling the precious nutrients that make their way down into the deepest, most isolated corners of the ocean. We have reached the bottom. Our journey of descent is over. We are now resting on the floor of the deepest trench on our planet, a place more remote and less visited than the surface of the moon. Let us take a moment to simply be in this place. The silence here is absolute. It is a silence that is deeper than any we have experienced before. It is the silence of 1,000 atmospheres of pressure, the silence of a world that has been undisturbed for eons. The stillness is profound. The water is almost completely motionless. The fine white sediment on the floor is a record of a peace that has been unbroken for millennia. The darkness is perfect and complete. We are 7 miles below the sun, in a place that has never known a single photon of its light. This is a place of finality, a place where the journey downwards ends, and yet it is not an end. It is a place of life. It is a world of small, soft-based, and incredibly resilient creatures, living their lives in a way that is almost beyond our comprehension. To be here, even in our imagination, is a humbling experience. It is a reminder of the vastness of our own planet, of the incredible hidden worlds that exist beneath our feet. It is a reminder of the tenacity of life, of its ability to find a way in the most extreme, the most unlikely of places. As we rest here, in the deepest, darkest, quietest place on Earth, we can let go of our own sense of scale, our own sense of importance. We can feel ourselves as a tiny, quiet observer in a world of immense, ancient, and peaceful majesty. And from this point of deepest stillness, we will begin a new journey. A journey to a place where life is not fueled by the sun, but by the very fire of the earth itself. Our journey so far has been guided by a single, fundamental truth, that life in the deep is sustained by the distant sun. But now, we are going to explore a stunning exception to that rule. We are going to visit a world that is completely independent of the sun, a teeming, vibrant oasis of life that is powered by the planet's own inner heat. For over a century, the guiding principle of deep-sea biology was that all life ultimately depended on the rain of organic matter from the sunlit surface. The deeper you went, the less food there was, and therefore the sparser the life. This was the undisputed law of the deep. But in the year 1977, that law was broken. A team of geologists was using a small submersible named Alvin to explore the Galapagos Rift, a volcanic ridge deep on the floor of the Pacific Ocean. They were not looking for life. They were studying the geology of the seafloor, expecting to find nothing more than cold, barren, volcanic rock. And that is what they found at first. But then, as they piloted their small craft over the dark, frozen landscape, their temperature sensors suddenly registered a slight increase in the water temperature. They followed this anomaly, and what they saw through their small portholes was something that, according to the textbooks of the time, was simply impossible. They found a place where warm, shimmering water was gushing out of cracks in the seafloor, and clustered around these warm water springs in the total darkness, 2.5 kilometers below the surface, was a dense, thriving, and completely alien ecosystem. There were fields of giant white clams, each one a foot long. There were ghostly white crabs scurrying over the rocks, and most remarkably there were dense thickets of giant tube worms, some of them over 6 feet tall, with bright blood-red plumes swaying gently in the warm, shimmering currents. This was not a world of sparse, slow-moving scavengers. This was a lush, vibrant garden, an oasis of life as dense as a shallow water coral reef. And it was existing in a place where it had no right to be, a world with no sunlight and far from the gentle rain of marine snow. The discovery of these hydrothermal vents, as they came to be called, was a revolutionary moment in the history of science. It was as profound as discovering a new continent. It proved that life could exist in complete independence from the sun. It revealed that there was a second, previously unknown engine of life on our planet, one that was powered not by the light of a star, but by the chemical energy of the Earth itself. What exactly were these strange, shimmering oases that the scientists in Alvin had discovered? A hydrothermal vent is, in essence, an underwater hot spring. The process begins with the cold, dense seawater at the bottom of the ocean. This water seeps down through cracks and fissures in the Earth's crust, sometimes for miles. As it travels deeper, it gets closer to the molten magma that lies beneath the seafloor, and it gets incredibly hot. It can reach temperatures of over 400 degrees Celsius or 750 degrees Fahrenheit. At the surface, this would instantly turn to steam, but under the immense pressure of the deep ocean, the water remains in a liquid state. As this superheated water flows through the volcanic rock, it triggers a series of chemical reactions. It becomes highly acidic, and it strips minerals and chemicals from the rock. It becomes a rich, chemical soup, loaded with dissolved substances like sulfur, iron, zinc, and copper. This hot, mineral-rich, and now buoyant fluid then begins its journey back up towards the seafloor. When this superheated, chemical-laden water erupts from the seafloor and meets the near-freezing, oxygen-rich seawater, another dramatic chemical reaction occurs. The dissolved minerals instantly precipitate out of the solution, forming a cloud of fine, dark particles. This is why some of the most dramatic vents are called black smokers. They look like underwater chimneys, billowing thick clouds of black mineral smoke into the dark water. Over time, these precipitated minerals build up around the vent opening, creating tall, complex structures. These chimneys can grow to be tens of meters high, intricate, hollow spires of rock that look like the surreal, Gothic architecture of an alien world. These vents are not permanent features. They are dynamic and ephemeral. A vent system might be active for only a few decades before the geological plumbing beneath it shifts, and it goes cold. But in that time, it can create a vibrant temporary island of life in the vast cold desert of the abyssal seafloor. It is a place where the immense, fiery energy of the Earth's core erupts onto the ocean floor, providing the spark for a completely different kind of life. The discovery of the vent communities posed a profound biological question. In the absence of sunlight, there can be no photosynthesis. So what was fueling this lush, vibrant ecosystem? What was the foundation of this food web? The answer was a process that scientists had known about from bacteria, but had never imagined could support an entire ecosystem: chemosynthesis. Chemosynthesis is, in a way, the dark mirror of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis uses the energy of sunlight to build organic molecules. Chemosynthesis uses the energy from chemical reactions to do the same thing. At the heart of the hydrothermal vent ecosystem are vast mats of specialized bacteria. These bacteria are the primary producers, the plants of this sunless world. They are chemoautotrophs, meaning they make their own food using chemicals. The key ingredient for these bacteria is a chemical that is abundant in the vent fluid, but highly toxic to most other forms of life: hydrogen sulfide. This is the chemical that gives rotten eggs their distinctive smell. The bacteria absorb the hydrogen sulfide from the vent water, and they absorb oxygen from the surrounding seawater. They then facilitate a chemical reaction between these two substances. This reaction releases a burst of energy. The bacteria capture this energy and use it to do the same thing that a plant does with sunlight. They convert carbon dioxide from the seawater into the simple sugars and organic molecules that are the building blocks of life. They are turning the toxic chemical breath of the volcano into life. This process is the foundation of the entire vent community. The bacteria grow in thick, white or yellow mats on the rocks. They are grazed upon by small shrimp and crabs, but more importantly, they have formed deep symbiotic partnerships with the larger animals of the vent, living inside their bodies and providing them with a constant internal source of food. Chemosynthesis is the spark, the engine, the sun of this deep, dark world. It is a profound and beautiful reminder that life is not a single story, but a rich and diverse collection of possibilities. The most iconic and visually stunning inhabitants of the hydrothermal vents are the giant tube worms, Riftia pachyptila. These strange and beautiful creatures are the redwoods of the vent ecosystem. They grow in dense, tangled thickets, their tough, white, chitinous tubes anchored to the volcanic rock. They can grow to be over 8 feet tall, and they grow faster than any other known marine invertebrate. The top of the worm extends out of its tube as a vibrant, blood-red, feathery plume. This plume is not for decoration. It is the worm's breathing and feeding organ. But the giant tube worm has no mouth, no stomach, and no gut. It cannot eat. So how does it survive? The answer lies in a remarkable symbiotic partnership. The worm's body is mostly a large specialised organ called the trophosome, which is packed with trillions of chemosynthetic bacteria. The worm is essentially a living apartment building for its bacterial partners. The bright red plume acts as a gill. It absorbs hydrogen sulfide, oxygen and carbon dioxide from the water and delivers them, via its circulatory system, to the bacteria living deep inside its body. The bacteria, safe inside the worm, use these ingredients to perform chemosynthesis, producing an abundance of sugars and organic molecules. They produce so much that there is more than enough to feed both themselves and their host, worm. The worm provides the bacteria with a safe home and a steady delivery of raw materials. The bacteria in turn provide the worm with all the nutrition it needs. It is a perfect, self-contained partnership, a beautiful collaboration that allows for this incredible growth in a world with no external food source. The swaying, red-tipped forest of the giant tube worms is not just a collection of animals. It is a garden, a vibrant testament to the power of cooperation and the hidden, chemical engine that drives life in the absence of the sun. The giant tube worms may be the most famous residents, but they are just one part of a complex and bustling community that is utterly unique to the hydrothermal vents. Clustered around the base of the tube worm thickets, we find large white clams and dense beds of mussels. Like the tube worms, these bivalves do not filter feed from the water. Instead, they have chemosynthetic bacteria living in their gills. They are another example of this profound symbiosis, each one a self-contained chemosynthetic power plant. Scurrying over the rocks and among the shells are the vent crabs. They are often ghostly white, having lost all their pigment in the eternal darkness. They are scavengers, feeding on stray bacteria or on any of the vent creatures that might die. There are also vent shrimp, which can gather in such dense swarms that they completely cover the vent chimneys. Some of these shrimp are blind, but have developed a special heat-sensing organ on their backs, allowing them to see the shimmering hot water of the vents and avoid being boiled alive. There are strange, pale, eel-like fish called zorsids, which prey on the smaller vent creatures. And there are even dandelion animals, which are strange, colonial jellyfish-like creatures that anchor themselves to the seafloor and use their tentacles to collect bacterial particles. Every member of this community is specially adapted to a life of high pressure, extreme temperature gradients, and a chemistry that would be instantly lethal to almost any other animal on Earth. It is a world that is both incredibly harsh and incredibly rich. It is a temporary, vibrant, and completely self-sufficient city of strangeness, a testament to the fact that wherever there is a source of energy, no matter how exotic, life will find a way to build a home. This community is not just a curiosity. It is a living example of a completely different way of being, a parallel biology that operates by a different set of rules, a quiet and powerful whisper of the sheer, creative possibility of life. The discovery of hydrothermal vent communities did more than just change our understanding of deep-sea biology. It opened up a new and tantalizing possibility about the very origin of life on our planet. For a long time, the leading theory was that life began in a warm little pond on the surface, sparked by lightning and fueled by the sun. But the surface of the early Earth was a violent and inhospitable place, bombarded by asteroids and exposed to intense ultraviolet radiation. The hydrothermal vents, however, offer a different kind of cradle for life. They are located deep beneath the waves, protected from the chaos of the surface. They provide a constant and reliable source of chemical energy, the raw materials like carbon and sulfur that are the building blocks of life, and a rich environment of mineral surfaces that could have acted as catalyst for the first complex organic molecules. It is possible, some scientists believe, that life did not begin in the light, but in the dark. It may have been born in the warm, mineral-rich, and protected environment of a deep-sea hydrothermal vent, a place where the planet's own geological energy provided the spark. This idea is still a hypothesis, one of several competing theories about the origin of life, but it is a powerful and beautiful one. It suggests that the strange, sunless gardens we find at the bottom of the ocean today may be a living echo of the very first ecosystems on Earth. They may not just be an example of life's adaptability, but a window into its very genesis. This thought gives us a new sense of reverence for these deep, dark oases. They are not just biological curiosities. They are places of profound historical and possibly even ancestral significance. A quiet and humbling reminder that the story of life may have its deepest roots in the warm, dark, and chemically rich heart of the deep ocean. The deep ocean, with its stable, unchanging environment, has acted as a quiet refuge, a sanctuary from the turbulent changes that have swept across the surface of our planet. Here, in the timeless dark, some creatures have persisted for millions of years, their ancient forms a living window into the Earth's deep past. Imagine a museum, a place of quiet halls, where ancient artifacts are carefully preserved behind glass, protected from the ravages of time, from the changing weather, from the destructive forces of the outside world. The deep ocean is, in a way, the largest museum on Earth. It is a living museum, and its exhibits are not relics of stone and pottery, but living, breathing creatures. The surface of our planet is a place of constant and often violent change. Ice ages come and go, continents drift, mountains rise and fall, and catastrophic events like asteroid impacts can dramatically reshape the world and extinguish entire ecosystems. Life on the surface must constantly adapt or perish. But the deep ocean is largely insulated from this chaos. The crushing pressure, the stable, near freezing temperature, and the profound darkness have remained virtually unchanged for tens or even hundreds of millions of years. It is a world that time has in many ways forgotten. This incredible stability has allowed it to become a refuge. While a species on the surface might be wiped out by a changing climate or a new predator, its deep water relatives might continue to thrive, undisturbed, in their peaceful, unchanging world. In this way, the deep sea has preserved ancient lineages, groups of animals that have long since vanished from the shallow seas. These are the living fossils, creatures that have survived, relatively unchanged through vast stretches of geological time. They are not primitive or unevolved. They are in fact highly successful, their ancient body plans so perfectly suited to the stable conditions of the deep that there has been no evolutionary pressure to change them. They are masters of a world that does not demand novelty. To encounter one of these ancient survivors is to shake hands with a creature from a different geological era. It is a tangible connection to the deep past. a humbling reminder of the immense, slow and patient story of life on our planet. The deep ocean is a library of ancient biological stories, its living fossils the precious time-worn books that tell us not only about the world of today, but about the many worlds that have come before. Let us now meet one of these ancient mariners, a creature that seems to have swum directly out of the age of dinosaurs, the frilled shark. This is one of the most primitive sharks alive today, its lineage stretching back at least 80 million years. To look at a frilled shark is to see a blueprint of a shark from a bygone era. It does not have the sleek, torpedo-like body of a modern shark. Instead, its body is long, slender, and distinctly eel-like. It can grow up to 6 feet long, its dark brown or grey skin a simple, unadorned uniform for its life in the deep. Its most distinctive feature, and the one that gives it its name, is its gills. Most sharks have 5 separate gill slits on each side of their head. The frilled shark has 6, and the first pair is connected across its throat, creating a ruffled, frilly collar of delicate gill filaments. This is a very ancient trait, a throwback to a much earlier design. Its mouth is also unusual. Instead of being located on the underside of its head like most sharks, its mouth is at the very front, or terminal position, giving it a more serpentine appearance. And this mouth is filled with a formidable array of teeth. It has about 300 of them, arranged in 25 rows. Each tooth is small, but has 3 sharp, needle-like cusps, like a tiny trident. These teeth are not for cutting or tearing. They are perfect for snagging and trapping soft-bodied prey like squid, which is its primary food source. The frilled shark is a creature of the deep continental slopes and shelves, living at depths of several hundred to over 1,000 meters. Very little is known about its life. It is thought to be a slow-moving ambush predator. It may use its long, flexible body to strike like a snake, lunging forward to catch its prey. Its large, lipid-filled liver allows it to maintain its position in the water column with very little effort, a key adaptation for a low-energy lifestyle. Even its reproduction is a story of slowness and deep time. It is thought to have one of the longest gestation periods of any animal, possibly lasting for over 3.5 years. The frilled shark is a rare and beautiful glimpse into the past. It is a quiet, successful survivor, a creature whose ancient form has served it perfectly in the stable, timeless darkness of the deep ocean. It is a living, breathing artifact from a world that has long since vanished from the surface. There is no story of a living fossil more famous or more surprising than that of the coelacanth. For decades, the coelacanth was known to science only through the fossil record. It was a type of lobe-finned fish, a group that was thought to have flourished during the age of the dinosaurs, and to have gone extinct around the same time, about 66 million years ago. They were considered a classic index fossil, a reliable marker of a particular geological age. Their story finished, their book closed. And then, in 1938, that book was dramatically reopened. A fishing trawler operating off the coast of South Africa brought up a strange, large blue fish that no one recognised. The captain contacted a local museum curator named Marjorie Courtney Latimer, who immediately suspected it was something extraordinary. She made a sketch and sent it to a fish expert, J.L.B. Smith, who, after a long search, confirmed the unbelievable. It was a living coelacanth. The scientific world was stunned. It was the equivalent of finding a living, breathing triceratops wandering in a remote jungle. The coelacanth was a creature that was supposed to be long gone, a ghost from the deep past. It has all the hallmarks of an ancient fish. Its fins are not like the fins of modern fish. They are fleshy, lobe-like appendages, supported by bone and muscle, that move in an alternating pattern, much like the legs of a land animal trotting. It has a special hinged joint in its skull that allows it to open its mouth incredibly wide, and it has a tail with a unique 3-lobed shape. The coelacanth is a deep-water creature, a resident of the twilight zone, spending its days resting in lava caves and its nights slowly hunting for fish and squid. It is a slow-moving, deliberate animal, its life perfectly in tune with the quiet rhythms of the deep. Since its rediscovery, a second species has been found in Indonesia, but it remains an incredibly rare and precious animal. The story of the coelacanth is a profound lesson in humility. It is a powerful reminder that our knowledge of the ocean is still so very incomplete. It tells us that the deep, dark waters of our planet still hold secrets, that there are ancient stories still being lived out in the quiet depths, and that the past is not always as far away as we might think. Why is the deep ocean such an effective sanctuary for these ancient forms of life? What is it about this environment that allows a creature like the coelacanth to persist, virtually unchanged, for tens of millions of years? The primary reason is its incredible stability. While the surface world has been rocked by dramatic shifts in climate, from hothouse worlds to snowball Earths, the deep ocean has remained a realm of constant cold. A species adapted to this stable temperature never had to face the evolutionary pressure of a warming or cooling world. The food web is also remarkably stable. While new, more efficient predators may have evolved in the shallow seas, driving older forms to extinction, the deep ocean is a world of low competition. The scarcity of food has fostered a less dynamic, less competitive ecosystem, where an ancient, slow-moving body plan can remain a viable strategy for millions of years. The darkness itself provides a refuge. It is a world free from visual predators that hunt by the light of the sun. This may have allowed creatures with less sophisticated defences to survive. And finally, the sheer scale and isolation of the deep sea play a role. The deep ocean is the largest habitat on Earth, with countless disconnected pockets and regions. A catastrophic event that might wipe out a species in one part of the world might leave a deep-water population completely untouched, allowing it to survive and persist. All of these factors, the stable temperature, the low competition, the darkness, and the vastness, combine to create a world with a much slower evolutionary clock. It is a world where the pressure to change is low, and the reward for simply maintaining a successful, ancient strategy is high. The deep ocean is not a place where evolution has stopped, but it is a place where evolution whispers rather than shouts. It is this gentle, quiet, and unchanging nature that makes it the perfect living museum, the silent keeper of life's oldest and most precious stories. The ancient survivors of the deep are more than just biological curiosities. They are echoes of a past that is still, in a very real sense, present. They carry in their genes, in their bones, and in their very forms the history of our planet. They're a quiet and powerful counter-narrative to our own human story, which is a story of rapid change, of innovation, and of a relentless march forward. The frilled shark and the coelacanth remind us that there is another way to be successful in the grand story of life. Theirs is a success based on endurance, on stability, and on finding a perfect, unchanging harmony with a perfect, unchanging world. Their continued existence challenges our notion of progress. In the context of the deep ocean, the fittest is not the newest or the most complex, but the one that has endured. They are a source of profound humility, a reminder of the vastness of geological time and our own fleeting place within it. The fact that a fish that swam alongside dinosaurs still swims in our oceans today is a thought that can quiet the mind and place our own worries and concerns in a much larger, much deeper context. These creatures are a bridge to a world we can never truly visit, the world of the deep past. And they are a promise that our planet still holds deep and beautiful mysteries. They are a quiet, living assurance that even in our modern, well-explored world, there are still ghosts in the machine, ancient mariners sailing silently through the timeless dark waters of the deep ocean. We have spent our journey meeting the strange and wonderful animals of the deep, from the ghostly jellyfish to the ancient sharks. But now we must turn our attention to the true rulers of this vast kingdom a silent, invisible, and ancient majority that outweighs all other life combined, the microorganisms. Our perception of the world is naturally biased towards the things we can see. We think of an ecosystem in terms of its largest and most charismatic inhabitants, the trees in a forest, the lions on a savanna, the whales in the ocean. But this is a profoundly limited view. In every habitat on Earth, the vast majority of life, both in terms of numbers and in terms of sheer biomass, is microbial. And this is nowhere more true than in the deep ocean. The strange and wonderful fish, squid, and crustaceans that we have met are, in the grand scheme of things, a tiny minority. The real story of life in the deep is the story of bacteria, of archaea, and of single-celled fungi and protists. This is the unseen majority, a vast, silent, and incredibly diverse world of microorganisms that underpins the entire deep-sea ecosystem. They are in the water, on the skin of every animal, and most importantly, they are in the seafloor itself. The soft ooze of the abyssal plain is not just mud, it is one of the most densely populated microbial habitats on the planet. A single teaspoon of this deep-sea sediment can contain billions of individual bacterial cells. These are not just passive inhabitants. They are the primary engines of the deep. They are the great recyclers, the decomposers, the chemists that drive the biogeochemical cycles of the entire planet. While the animals of the deep are focused on finding the next particle of marine snow, the microbes are busy breaking down the tough, complex organic matter that no animal can digest. They are mining the sediment for every last drop of chemical energy. This microbial world operates on a different timescale and with a different set of rules. Their lives are short, their numbers are astronomical, and their collective impact is immense. To truly understand the deep ocean, we must shift our focus from the visible to the invisible. We must look beyond the eye's reach and try to comprehend this vast hidden biosphere that quietly and powerfully governs the life of the deep. Let us expand our definition of where life can exist. We think of a life as existing on the surface of the earth, but in the ocean, life goes much, much deeper. Scientists have discovered a vast hidden world of microbial life that exists within the seafloor sediments and even deep within the solid rock of the oceanic crust itself. This is the deep biosphere, a kingdom of life that may be as large, in terms of sheer volume and biomass, as all other life on Earth combined. Imagine the seafloor, that soft layer of ooze on the abyssal plain. We have spoken of the microbes that live in the top few inches, but the microbes go deeper. They have been found in sediment cores drilled over 1.5 miles beneath the seafloor. This is a world that is completely cut off from the ocean above. The microbes that live here are in a state of extreme slow motion. They are living on the faintest whispers of energy, on the organic carbon that was buried with the sediment millions of years ago. A single microbe in this deep biosphere might take 1,000 years to undergo a single-cell division. It is a life lived at a pace that is almost geological, and it goes deeper still. Life has been found in the volcanic rock of the ocean crust, kilometres beneath the sea floor. These microbes live in the tiny, water-filled cracks and fissures of the rock, eating the rock itself. They are chemosynthetic, like the bacteria at the hydrothermal vents, but instead of using hydrogen sulfide, they use the chemical energy from reactions between the water and the minerals in the rock, like iron. This is a form of life that is completely independent of the surface world, a self-contained ecosystem that is powered by the slow, patient chemistry of geology. This deep biosphere is one of the most profound and humbling discoveries in modern science. It means that life on our planet is not just a thin, fragile skin on the surface. It is a deep and pervasive presence that permeates the very crust of the Earth. It is an ancient, slow, and incredibly resilient world that has been quietly existing, hidden from our view for billions of years. It is the true unseen majority, a silent microbial giant that forms a significant part of the total life on our planet. The primary role of the vast microbial community in the deep ocean is that of a recycler. They are the ultimate masters of living on leftovers. The marine snow that falls to the seafloor contains a wide variety of organic molecules. The larger animals, the sea cucumbers and the worms, can digest the simple, easy-to-access sugars and fats. But much of the organic matter is in the form of complex, tough-to-break-down molecules like chitin, the substance that makes up the shells of crustaceans, and cellulose. This is where the microbes come in. They are chemical specialists. Different groups of bacteria produce different kinds of specialized enzymes, which are like molecular scissors, capable of breaking down these tough, complex molecules into smaller, simpler pieces. They are the digestive system of the entire seafloor. This process of decomposition is not just about food. It is about recycling the fundamental building blocks of life. When a microbe breaks down an organic molecule, it releases essential nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus back into the environment, making them available for other organisms to use. Without this constant, patient and invisible work of the microbial community, these vital nutrients would be locked away in the sediment, and the entire deep-sea ecosystem would grind to a halt. The microbes are the silent, indispensable keepers of the nutrient cycle. They are also incredibly adaptable. In the absence of oxygen, which is quickly used up in the upper layers of the sediment, different groups of bacteria have evolved to breathe other chemicals. Some use nitrate, some use metals like manganese and iron, and some use sulfate, producing hydrogen sulfide as a waste product. This creates a complex, layered chemical environment within the sediment, with different microbial communities dominating at different depths. They have learned to make a living from every last chemical possibility, ensuring that no potential source of energy, no matter how small, goes to waste. They are the quiet, efficient, and absolutely essential foundation that makes all other life in the deep possible. The individual microbes are, of course, invisibly small, but their collective action, over millions of years, has the power to shape the very geology of our planet. They are the unseen architects of the seafloor. Their constant process of decomposition and chemical transformation has a profound impact on the chemistry of the sediment and the water above it. By recycling nutrients, they influence which larger organisms can live in a particular area. By producing chemicals like hydrogen sulfide, they can make certain layers of the sediment uninhabitable for animals, creating a complex chemical geography. Their most significant architectural work, however, is on a geological timescale. Over millions of years, the vast accumulation of their tiny bodies and the shells of the plankton they decompose is what creates the deep-sea ooze itself. This sediment over time is buried, compressed, and turned into rock. The chalk cliffs of Dover, for example, are made of the fossilized shells of countless trillions of microscopic coccolithophores that once lived in an ancient sea. The microbes of the past have literally built mountains. They also play a crucial role in the formation of mineral deposits on the seafloor. We have spoken of the manganese nodules, which grow with incredible slowness on the abyssal plain. It is now believed that microbial action plays a key role in their formation, with bacteria helping to concentrate the metals from the seawater into these dense, stony nodules. The microbes are not just living on the seafloor, they are actively creating it. They are the bridge between biology and geology, the tiny living agents that transform the soft rain of life from above into the solid rock of the Earth's crust below. Their slow, patient and collective work, carried out over the immense canvas of the seafloor and through the deep passage of geological time, is one of the most powerful and creative forces on our planet. Our exploration of the unseen majority leaves us with a profound sense of humility. For all our journeying, for all our discoveries of strange and wonderful animals, we have only been looking at the tip of the iceberg. The true heart of the deep-sea ecosystem is microbial. This vast, ancient and incredibly diverse world of bacteria and archaea is a realm that we are only just beginning to explore. Scientists estimate that we have identified and cultured less than 1% of the microbial species that live in the deep ocean. The rest are a complete mystery. We know they are there. We can detect their genetic signatures in the mud and the water, but we do not know what they look like, what they eat, or what role they play in the ecosystem. This is the great frontier of modern biology. The deep ocean is not just a treasure trove of new animals. It is a vast, untapped library of completely unknown forms of life, of new types of chemistry, and of potential new medicines and technologies. To contemplate this is to realise how much we still have to learn. It is to understand that our knowledge of our own planet is still so wonderfully and excitingly incomplete. The unseen majority of the deep ocean is a quiet and constant reminder that the greatest mysteries are not always in the distant stars, but can also be found in a single handful of mud from the bottom of our own world. It invites us to approach the world not with the arrogance of a master, but with the quiet wonder and deep humility of a curious student. Our long journey downwards is complete. We have visited the deepest trenches and met the unseen majority. Now it is time to turn for home. Let us begin a slow, gentle ascent, carrying with us the quiet wonders we have seen, and connecting the story of the deep with the story of the entire planet. Imagine yourself now, beginning to rise. You are leaving the profound stillness of the seafloor behind. The soft ooze, with its hidden world of microbes and its patient, slow-moving animals, recedes below you. We are ascending, not with the powerful kick of a rocket, but with the gentle, buoyant drift of a bubble of air released from the deep. Our journey downwards was a process of subtraction, of letting go. We let go of the light, of the warmth, of the colour, of the noise. Our ascent will be a journey of return, of gentle reacquaintance with the things we have left behind, but we will see them with new eyes. The darkness of the abyss and the midnight zone no longer feels empty, but full of the memories of the creatures we have met. We can imagine the silent drift of the vampire squid, the patient glow of the anglerfish, the ghostly dance of the Dumbo octopus. The darkness is no longer a void, but a home. As we rise, the immense pressure that has been our constant companion begins to lessen its embrace. With every metre we ascend, we are shedding the weight of the water above us. It is a feeling of lightness, of release. We are returning to a world of less gravity, less intensity. This journey upwards is also a journey of reflection. We have seen that the deep ocean is not a separate, isolated world. It is profoundly connected to the surface through the gentle rain of marine snow. And we are about to discover that the connection flows both ways. The deep ocean is not just a passive recipient of the surface world's bounty. It is an active and powerful force that shapes the entire planet. From its climate to the very air we breathe, it is the slow, deep and steadying heartbeat of the earth. Our ascent is a chance to put the pieces together, to see the ocean not as a series of layers, but as a single, great and unified living system. So let us drift upwards, slowly, peacefully, carrying the quiet majesty of the deep with us as we return, step by step, to the familiar world of light. As we drift upwards, let us become aware of a slow, almost imperceptible movement in the water around us. We are being carried by a current, but it is not like the swift currents of the surface. This is a current that moves at a geological pace, a vast planetary-scale circulation system that is often called the global conveyor belt. This is the deep, slow breath of the ocean. The process begins in the cold polar regions of our planet, in the North Atlantic and near Antarctica. Here, the surface water gets incredibly cold and salty. This cold, salty water is very dense, denser than the water around it, and so it begins to sink. This is the birth of the deep water, the great inhalation of the ocean's breath. This newly formed deep water then begins a slow, epic journey along the bottom of the world's oceans. It flows south from the North Atlantic, joins with the deep water formed in the Antarctic, and then spreads out to fill the deep basins of the Indian and Pacific Oceans. This journey takes place in the profound darkness and cold of the abyss, and it is incredibly slow. A parcel of this deep water might take 1,000 years to travel from the North Atlantic to the North Pacific. As it travels, this deep water is gradually mixed with the water above it, and it slowly warms and becomes less dense. Eventually, in various places around the world, it begins to rise back to the surface, a process called upwelling. This is the great exhalation. Once at the surface, this water is warmed by the sun and travels in the surface currents, eventually making its way back to the polar regions where the cycle begins all over again. A single, complete circuit of this global conveyor belt can take over 1,000 years. This is the great circulatory system of our planet. It is constantly mixing the ocean, transporting heat, salt, and vital nutrients all around the globe. It connects the surface with the deep and the poles with the equator. It is a fundamental part of what makes our planet a living, breathing, and stable world. And we, on our gentle ascent, are a part of this slow, ancient, and majestic breath. This great, slow breathing of the ocean, the global conveyor belt, does more than just transport heat. It plays a vital role in regulating our planet's climate, and it does so by carrying a precious gift from the surface into the deep, carbon. As we have discussed, the biological carbon pump, the process of marine snow, carries carbon from the atmosphere into the deep ocean. But there is another, even larger process called the physical carbon pump. Cold water can naturally dissolve more gas than warm water, including carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. When the cold, dense water sinks in the polar regions to form the deep water, it carries a massive amount of dissolved carbon dioxide with it. This is the ocean's great inhalation of atmospheric carbon. That carbon is then transported by the deep currents, and it can remain sequestered in the deep ocean, far from the atmosphere, for hundreds or even thousands of years. The deep ocean is, by a huge margin, the largest reservoir of carbon on our planet. It holds about 50 times more carbon than the entire atmosphere. It is a vast, quiet, and incredibly important buffer for our planet's climate. By absorbing a significant portion of the carbon dioxide that we have been releasing into the atmosphere, the ocean has been gently slowing the rate of climate change. It is, in a sense, breathing in our excess and giving us the gift of a more stable world. This is a gift that comes with a cost, as this dissolved carbon dioxide is making the ocean more acidic, which is a threat to creatures with shells. But the fundamental process is one of profound and planetary scale regulation. The cold, dark, and seemingly remote world of the deep is intimately and powerfully connected to the warmth and the light of our own world. Its slow, deep breath is a vital part of what keeps our planet's climate in a delicate and life-sustaining balance. As we continue to rise, the pieces of the puzzle begin to form a single, beautiful picture. We see that the world is not a collection of separate parts, but a single, deeply interconnected system. The sunlight that falls on the surface of the ocean fuels the growth of tiny plants. These plants feed the animals of the sunlit zone. When these creatures die, they sink as marine snow, providing the food for the strange and wonderful animals of the dark. This process also carries carbon into the deep. The sinking of cold, salty water at the poles drives a great slow current that mixes the entire ocean over 1,000 years. This current transports heat and nutrients around the planet, and it locks away vast quantities of carbon, regulating our climate. The chemosynthetic life at the hydrothermal vents, which seems so separate, is also connected. The chemicals it uses are a product of the Earth's geology, which is driven by the same plate tectonics that form the deep ocean trenches. Every part of the system is touching every other part. The tiniest microbe on the seafloor is connected to the composition of the air we breathe. The life of a whale at the surface is connected to the life of a squid in the deepest darkness. This is the great, humbling lesson of our journey. It is a lesson of unity, of interdependence, of a single, complex and beautiful dance of life. Chemistry and physics that has been unfolding on our planet for billions of years. To understand the deep ocean is to understand that we are not separate from nature, but an intimate part of it. The health of the deep is tied to the health of the surface, and the health of the entire planet is tied to the health of its vast, dark and life-giving ocean. As we rise further, we begin to leave the profound, ancient silence of the deepest ocean behind. The water here is still quiet, but it carries a different quality. And this brings us to a final, gentle reflection on one of the deep's most precious and endangered qualities, its silence. We have spoken of the deep as a world of meaningful sound, of whale song that crosses basins, of the precise clicks of echolocation, of the subtle vibrations that signal the presence of prey. This is the natural soundscape of the ocean, a world where listening is as important as seeing. But in the last century, we on the surface have introduced a new kind of sound into this world. It is the sound of our own activity, the constant low-frequency hum of ship engines, the powerful, explosive blasts of seismic surveys for oil and gas, the pinging of military sonar. This human-made noise travels with incredible efficiency through the water, as invading the deepest, most remote corners of the ocean. For creatures like whales, who depend on sound to communicate, to navigate, and to find mates, this constant, chaotic noise is like living in a perpetual sonic fog. It is a form of pollution that we cannot see, but that has a profound impact on the lives of the creatures who have evolved over millions of years to live in a world of quiet and meaningful sound. The silence of the deep is not an emptiness, it is a presence. It is a vital and beautiful part of the deep sea environment, and like so many natural wonders, it is something we did not truly appreciate until we began to lose it. As we continue our ascent, we can hold a quiet appreciation for the natural, peaceful silence of the world we have just left. We can think of it as a precious resource, a state of being that is worth protecting, a gentle reminder that sometimes the most important things in the world are the things we cannot see and the things we can no longer hear. Our ascent continues. We are now rising through the twilight zone, and we begin to notice a change. A faint silvery blue light begins to permeate the water above us. After the absolute blackness of the world below, this first, faint touch of the sun is a profound and beautiful event. The world begins to take on shape again. We see the silhouettes of the hatchetfish and the lanternfish, the masters of this dusky realm. The light grows stronger, more confident. The deep, velvety indigo gives way to a brighter sapphire. We are rising through the colours of the spectrum in reverse, reacquainting ourselves with the gifts of the sun. Then, all at once, we are through. We have reached the sunlit zone. The world is flooded with a brilliant, warm and life-giving light. The water is clear, and we can see the vibrant colours of the fish that live here. The warmth on our skin is a welcome, familiar feeling. We have returned to the world we know, but we are not the same as when we left. We have carried a piece of the deep back with us. We now know what lies beneath this thin, beautiful layer of light. We know that this bustling, sun-drenched city rests atop a world of immense darkness, of crushing pressure, of profound cold, and of a life that is strange, slow, and beautiful beyond measure. We have seen the unbroken connection that ties this world of light to the world of darkness. And so, we look at this sunlit surface not just as a beautiful scene, but as the thin, breathing membrane that separates two parts of a single, great, and mysterious whole. Our journey is almost over. We are ready for the final transition, from the ocean without to the ocean within. Our long journey through the deep ocean is coming to a peaceful close. We have returned to the light, but we carry the memory of the darkness with us. Now, let us make one final transition, turning our awareness from the great ocean of the world to the quiet, inner sea of our own consciousness as we drift towards sleep. Imagine yourself now, not in the ocean, but standing on a quiet shore at the edge of sleep. The journey we have taken is behind you, and its wonders are settling into your memory like smooth, beautiful stones collected from a deep and mysterious beach. The world of thought of the day's events is like the land behind you, and the world of sleep, the deep, quiet, and unconscious world, is like the calm, dark ocean before you. You're standing at the waterline, at the gentle edge of consciousness. This is a peaceful and transitional space. There is no need to hurry, no need to force the transition. You can simply stand here for a moment, feeling the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. Feel the air come in and feel it go out. Each breath is like a small, gentle wave, washing up on the shore of your awareness and then receding, carrying with it any tension you may be holding. The story of the deep ocean has been a story of letting go, a letting go of light, of warmth, of control. And now you're being invited to do the same. You can let go of the need to listen to my voice. You can let go of the need to follow the story. You can simply allow yourself to be present in this quiet moment at the edge of your own inner ocean. The creatures of the deep have taught us about patience, about the strength of slowness, and about the beauty of a quiet existence. We can take these lessons with us into our own rest. Sleep is not an empty void. It is a deep and vital world, a place of restoration, of quiet processing, of dreams. It is our own personal abyss, a place where we can let go of the pressures of the waking world and simply be. And so, as we stand here on this peaceful shore, we can feel a gentle invitation to step into the water, to allow ourselves to be carried by the slow, peaceful currents of sleep. There is a beautiful and profound scientific fact that connects us, in the most intimate way, to the great ocean we have just explored. The water within our own bodies, the fluid that fills our cells and the plasma that makes up our blood, has a mineral composition that is remarkably similar to that of seawater. The same essential salts, sodium, potassium, calcium, are present in our bodies in nearly the same proportions as they are in the ocean. This is not a coincidence. It is a deep and ancient inheritance. Life on this planet began in the sea. For billions of years, the ocean was the only home that life knew. The first single-celled organisms evolved within this salty chemical bath, and the chemistry of their own internal fluid was a reflection of the ocean around them. When the first creatures finally made their way onto land, they carried the ocean with them. They evolved complex systems to maintain their own internal sea, a carefully balanced and protected pocket of the ancestral ocean that they now carried inside their own bodies. We are all walking, breathing aquariums. The salt in our veins, the tears in our eyes, the fluid that cushions our brain, all of it is a living personal echo of the primordial sea. We are, in the most literal and beautiful sense, children of the ocean. Our bodies are a testament to the fact that we never truly left our first home. To feel the gentle pulse of the blood in your veins is to feel the rhythm of an ancient tide. To feel the warmth of your own body is to feel the memory of a sunlit shallow sea. This connection is not a metaphor. It is a physical, biological reality. It is a quiet, humbling reminder that the great, mysterious world we've been exploring is not something separate from us. It is a part of us. It is our oldest, most distant, and most intimate relative. As you lie here, preparing for sleep, you can feel this ancient ocean within you. You can feel the quiet, salty, life-giving sea that flows through every part of your being, a gentle internal current that is carrying you peacefully towards a state of deep and restorative rest. Let us feel another connection, another rhythm that ties us to the sea. The ocean is in a constant state of slow, rhythmic motion. The tides, pulled by the gentle, distant gravity of the moon, rise and fall with a deep and unwavering certainty. It is a slow, planetary scale breath, a great inhalation and a long, slow exhalation. As you lie here, your own body is following a similar rhythm. Your breathing, which has now become slow and deep and regular, is your own personal tide. Feel the gentle rise of your chest and abdomen as you breathe in, and the soft, complete release as you breathe out. There is no effort required. Your body knows this rhythm perfectly. It is a rhythm that has sustained you for your entire life, a quiet, constant companion that is always there. You can align the tide of your breath with the great, slow tide of the ocean. Imagine that with every inhalation, a gentle, healing wave of calm washes over you, and with every exhalation, that wave recedes, carrying away any lingering thoughts, any remaining tension, any resistance to the pull of sleep. Breathing in, you are calm. Breathing out, you are letting go. This gentle, rhythmic rising and falling is the natural pace of rest. It is the opposite of the fast, chaotic, and irregular rhythms of a busy day. It is a return to a simpler, more fundamental state of being. The creatures of the deep have taught us the power of a slow, steady rhythm. Their very lives are a long, slow dance with their environment. And now you can allow your own body to find its own slow, peaceful dance. Allow the gentle, tidal rhythm of your breath to be your guide, your anchor, your lullaby, carrying you ever so gently, ever so peacefully, out into the deep, calm, and quiet ocean of sleep. Our journey has taken us to the very edges of our knowledge of the deep ocean. We have met creatures that defy our imagination and explored worlds that were, until very recently, a complete mystery. And yet, for all that we have learned, the single greatest truth about the deep ocean is how little we still know. It is estimated that we have explored less than 5% of the ocean floor. We have identified only a tiny fraction of the species that live there. The deep biosphere, the vast microbial world within the seafloor, is almost entirely unknown to us. The deep ocean is a universe of unknowns, a vast, dark and quiet library filled with books that we have not yet learned how to read. And this is a beautiful and comforting thought. It means that our world is still a place of magic, of mystery, and of profound and endless wonder. It gives us permission to not have all the answers. It invites us to rest in a state of peaceful curiosity. As you prepare for sleep, you do not need to solve any problems. You do not need to figure anything out. You can simply let your mind rest in this feeling of gentle, open-ended wonder. You can let go of the need for certainty and control and embrace the peace that comes from accepting the vastness of the unknown. Sleep itself is a mystery. We do not fully understand why we need it, or what happens in the depths of our own minds when we dream, and that is perfectly okay. We can surrender to these gentle mysteries, the mystery of the deep ocean, and the mystery of our own nightly journey into sleep, with a sense of trust, of peace, and of quiet, restful awe. And so we have come to the end of our journey together. The story is complete. We have travelled from the sunlit surface to the deepest trench, and we have returned. We have seen the wonders of the abyss, and we have felt the deep connection between its world and our own. And now there is nothing left to do. My voice will soon fade, and you will be left with the quiet of your own space and the gentle pull of sleep. You now have complete and total permission to let go. You can let go of the story, of my words, of any thoughts that may remain. You can allow your awareness to soften, to dissolve, to drift. Imagine yourself now as a single, gentle particle of marine snow. You're beginning your own slow, peaceful and weightless descent. You're leaving the bright, busy world of wakefulness far above you. You're sinking slowly, effortlessly, into your own deep, quiet and peaceful inner ocean. There is nothing to fear. It is a world of calm, of stillness, of profound and deep restoration. It is your own personal abyss, a place of perfect peace. So let yourself drift, let yourself sink, let the gentle currents of sleep carry you where they will. The journey is over, it is time to rest. We have journeyed through a world shaped by pressure, darkness, and the slow, patient passage of time. We discover that this remote and mysterious realm is not separate from us, but is connected through a gentle rain of life from above and through the salty, ancient ocean that we carry within our own veins. Now, as your own world darkens and quiets, you can feel that same profound connection. The steady, tidal rhythm of your breath is the ocean's gentle pulse, guiding you away from the shore of the day. You have permission to let go completely, to sink into the deep, restorative stillness that awaits. Your own quiet journey into the peaceful abyss of sleep has now begun. Allow yourself to drift. Should you find yourself awake on another night, perhaps you would like to journey with us again, to explore the quiet, cosmic wonders of the stars or the silent, patient story of the ancient trees. Until then, I wish you a deep and peaceful rest. Sleep well.